and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 48 hours or so out from the Super Bowl. A little disappointing that the Birds didn't make it, but Super Bowl weekend's upon us, and you wouldn't think that anything on Super Bowl weekend is going to eclipse the excitement of the big game, even when your team's not in it. But yesterday we had the NBA trade deadline. And I'm going to tell you this, the amount of different opinions that are flying around about each individual move, what the team decided to do, the strategy behind it, theories behind the strategy behind it, are all-encompassing. In a matter of, just reading down a timeline on any single announcement that came out yesterday, it was a cavalcade of, this is stupid, this is good, this is smart, this is dumb, what are they doing? Oh, now we're set. I have no idea what the plan actually was, but one thing I do know is that Daryl Morey wanted a clean slate to be able to work with as he hit the summer. But as the moves started to come down, and I'd really love to thank Daryl Morey this morning. If I could just thank Daryl Morey for waiting until Andrew Saltunis got on the air 6 minutes in, 8 minutes in to make a move. Thanks a lot, Daryl. Come on. Couldn't you toss us a bone, a 9 o'clock trade, something like that? We could have had that in the last hour. But in all seriousness, I can't figure out clearly what the plan was yesterday. But one thing I do know is the reactions were unbelievably, to me, over the top in every single direction. I saw things in every single direction that were completely over the top. Bob, as the moves poured in yesterday, was it one of the stranger trade deadlines you've ever seen for a team? And you've covered many of them.
Yeah, the ability for it to be strange was already set in motion when your best player is down due to surgery and you don't know if he's coming back or not. So then the oddity of it starts with, what are they doing this for? Are they doing this for this year? Are they doing this for the future? Do they think he's going to come back? Do they not think he's going to come back? It all ties into that. And so that's the big question mark you have. Then they get through doing what they did yesterday, and it's still that big question of, what did they do this for? Is this for this year? Is this for just standing pat? You have a ton of money, all of these things that you can do during the summertime, should you choose. If you do believe he's coming back, if there is a thought that Joel Embiid is going to be on the floor, ready to play basketball 6 weeks after his surgery, then yesterday was pretty good. And the future moves that you make, which there will probably be some, it might make you for a roster that says, okay, let's see what you got here. Because you can go up to March 1st to sign a buyout guy.
Right. Which we've never had good luck with, by the way.
Yeah, no, but is there a Spencer Dinwiddie out there? I don't understand the Kyle Lowry love. I don't know what that's all about.
I don't either. I'm thinking people are believing it's that for some reason it's like 2018.
Yeah,
with Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, and what that was kind of weird to me. But if they do believe now, in making a lot of phone calls and stuff yesterday, it is. The question that I asked most people was, this 4 to 6 weeks of Joel, 4 weeks of evaluation, then it becomes, what does he do during that 4 weeks? And the popular answer I got was, he's not just sitting around. He's not laying in a bed waiting for the knee to get better. He's going to be doing some things. The surgery was somewhat minimal.
Okay.
So if their belief is that he's on the court in 6 weeks, the question just becomes, Are you happy that you're going to have a starting lineup of Maxey, Heald, Batum, Harris, and Embiid with Campaign, not
Yeah, there you go. Not a campaign.
Cameron
Presidential.
Payne,
Yes.
Melton, Oubre, and you rack up center coming off the bench. Are you happy with that? You know, and there can be right and wrong answers. You could have a strong opinion like, yeah, that's not a bad lineup. Or you could say, no, it still sucks. It's not good enough. What did they do all this for? So it's kind of a question. You're looking for an answer, but you walk away. It's like a press conference, and you're scratching your head and saying, I don't know if I really got an answer. Did I?
It's a lineup that I know should be able to score as they scored the basketball. As opposed to scoring with anything else, scoring with a football. Scoring the basketball, they should be able to score more. This is a much better offensive lineup if Embiid was back. And Embiid was himself. This is a team that I would believe much more can hang as far as putting points on the board.
Well, they better because they got rid of some really good defenders, and they're not a very good defensive team to begin with.
Absolutely.
So, you're going to have to find that. You know, Melton is a good defender. I like him. After that, you're kind of looking, Tobias Harris is okay and all that. But
okay.
So if he's coming back and if you're confident in 6 weeks he's going to be the normal Joel Embiid, the Joel Embiid you had this year, how do you look at it? Do you look at it and say, ooh, they just got a shooter? I thought there was an interesting quote from T.J. McConnell of the Indiana Pacers talking about Buddy Hield last week saying people don't realize how much he makes a defense pay attention to him.
Absolutely.
That's kind of cool. That's neat to hear when you have a Tyrese Maxey and a Joel Embiid on the floor. Now, look, what I'm saying now is if Joel Embiid comes back in 6 weeks, it's an interesting starting lineup, and you have some guys coming off the bench with a little firepower. Is that going to happen? None of us knows. I don't know.
None of us knows. Pat, your reactions just overall to the day. First of all, do you believe that the actions of yesterday, the Sixers believe Joel Embiid's coming back?
No.
Okay, so that's how you're feeling.
Still 50-50 chance, one way or the other, obviously, that he comes back or he's out for the year.
As far as them thinking it, though, they believe it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you took away. I sort of felt that way too. That's about what I was feeling.
I mean, they had to me at least, they had such a weird deadline. It starts out with a buy move and Buddy Hield, and then it ends with you trading, a vet and a 21-year-old defender to two teams that you'll be battling it out with for, to get out of the East. I mean, you trade Jaden Springer to Boston, you trade Pat Bev to Milwaukee. Those are sellers moves. To me, it was so. It reeked of a deadline of like there was no plan, and if there was a plan, when it messed up, they didn't know how to pivot and change it up. To trade assets and guys to contenders that you'll be dealing with, I didn't like the deadline at all.
Here's what I was thinking, Pat. It's funny you said that there was no plan. I think that they had multiple plans that they were trying to cover all at once. The multiple being, all right, let's get a team together if Joel comes back and he's good, that we can say, all right, we might have a chance here. There's Buddy Hield. Let's get rid of a lot of stuff. And here's my hint that they don't think he's coming back. Why in the holy hell, when one of your best players is a guard, would you trade a great defender to the Milwaukee Bucks? That makes me think, okay, they don't think he's coming back.
That's what that's where I'm sitting today.
For a second-round pick and an expiring contract. I mean, Cameron Payne's. It's not like initially I went okay because I'm not well versed in the contract situation of the Milwaukee Bucks, so I thought maybe this is that DeAnthony Melton move that I talked about yesterday. The move where you make it with the foresight of okay, well at least he's under contract next year. No, he's not.
No.
Jaden Springer for a second-round pick to Boston. I can't wait for that headache to rear its ugly head again. Not like I'm going to make Jaden Springer have to be a future Hall of Famer, but like Boston Celtics always have that player that seems to come out of nowhere, and you go, where the hell did they find this guy? And he annoys you in a 7-game series. It'll probably be Jaden Springer, knowing our luck.
And they have a couple assistant coaches on Boston that was with the Sixers
Sam
last
Cassell
year, right?
Being one of them.
So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it was, and maybe Bob, you're right. Like they had all these plans, but if you have all these plans, then you don't have a plan. If you have all these plans of, okay, we're going to do a little bit of this and then that, and you don't have a plan. Like there's no directive. It just seemed like they were flying by the seat of their pants yesterday. And at first it started out with we're buyers, and then it ended with no, we're selling.
The hysteria over Pat Beverly, I don't get, and even the people on NBA Live didn't get. He's a nice guy to have on your roster. If you have the flexibility to have somebody, it's not like he is not swinging an NBA playoff series. He is not a player that is an impact player in the NBA anymore. And I
disagree with that.
Okay.
I think he's an impact player. I just don't think it shows up on the stat sheet.
Okay.
But I think he's an impact player in the locker room for sure, and I think he's an impact player on the court because he's that pest. He's that older version of TJ McConnell. I mean, I'm not going to make him out to be like you just lost Joel Embiid out there and you traded him for parts.
Freaking out yesterday.
But they're freaking
Beverly.
I'm freaking out. Like that's ridiculous. You traded a veteran who, I made the point a week ago. Like when you see the videos of Pat Bev going through screens with guys, and you hear about him hyping up Tyrese Maxey and telling him like this ain't good enough. You need a guy like that in your locker room, and you traded him primarily for a second-round pick. That's short-sighted, and you're trading him to replace him with a guy that, as you laid out in the open, we all think is cooked in Kyle Lowry. So
completely
didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like I'd rather have Pat Bev right now than Kyle Lowry.
I think Pat Bev is more eye candy to fans than maybe he is teammates. Can he play defense? Yeah, he'll get up in your grill and all that, and he'll do all the things that fans love, and the drinking the beer and stuff like that. But in Cameron Payne, do you have a guy a lot younger that maybe is equal in talent?
I think he's above him in talent right now.
Yeah, so
right now he's absolutely above him in talent.
Like I've watched much Cameron Payne.
No, but all you got to do is just
haven't either.
All you got to do is just look at what he's accomplished and how he's first of all, you're much better at being able to hit a three ball with Cameron Payne.
Yeah.
And you need that is something that they need,
I know.
What I mean?
I was going to say that's not what they were looking at Pat Bev for, and you're right. You improved it there. So I do think the Pat Bev thing is more eye candy than it is actual hurting the team with that. The Jaden Springer thing, I don't understand. My cousin texted me yesterday, like, why'd you get rid of him? I just made a bet with somebody. I bet $1 he's not going to be in the league in 2 years. I don't think he's not any good.
I don't think he's
not very good. He can't play offensively at all.
You really do, Pat?
He gets up in grills, but
I was the guy he made the bet with.
Look, you. Okay. Oh, I thought I made it with Matt.
You made it with two people.
Okay. He's a guy that, like, okay, you need to I tell you this all the time. Like, guys like him are told, you have to give us an NBA skill set that is going to keep you in this league. So what's the easiest thing to do? You get up in guys' grills and play some defense. Like, these are all phenomenal athletes. A lot of them, if they choose to play defense, would probably be pretty good defenders if they really concentrate on it. That's the only thing he can do NBA skill set wise, really. Yeah, he can jump, and there's loose balls that he can get to. That doesn't get you minutes in the NBA. So that wasn't a big deal to me at all. A little surprising they did it to the Celtics, who, as Pat said very well, they do develop players.
Yes, they do.
But I don't see him coming back to bite you in the ass at all. Like I said, I don't see that one. So if I looked at it wholly, the biggest thing, and I think everybody will agree, is they got Buddy Hield.
Yes.
Is that a guy that if you pair with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris this year, gives you a chance to do something should Embiid come back?
I wondered if there was another message in there, and I didn't want to jump you or Pat on it, Bob, because I just was waiting to hear your initial thoughts. Does this tell you think that Tobias Harris may be coming back?
I hadn't thought of that at all.
See, I thought of it yesterday, and I'm going, why did they keep him around, or was the market that soft? Now, according to Woj on one of the many ESPN shows, there wasn't a soft market for Tobias Harris. So it's not like they could have leveraged three teams against each other and said, give me your best deal. That there was a soft market for Tobias. But
Can't figure out why.
But I wonder also whether it's something where they're going to bring him back, that he didn't go.
I don't know. I'd be surprised. It's going to cost you a lot of money. You're going to pay Maxey a lot of money. Then you're pretty much running it back. Do you look to keep a Buddy Hield, someone like that? You're going to pay them a lot of money.
This is the city of running it back. The Eagles, the Phillies. It's run it back city. It's just maybe Daryl Morey's been hanging out with Dave Dombrowski and Howie Roseman. Just keep bringing them back.
I don't think. See, I think you're overreacting to that. Like next year for the Sixers, they're not running it back because they have to revamp a roster because they've got 2 guys under contract. If you bring 2 people back, I don't look at that as running it back because you need to rebuild a bench, and that's one of my problems with this trade deadline. Is you trade for Buddy Hield, okay, he's a UFA. You trade for Campaign, he's a UFA. Like, you didn't set yourself up for next year. And the idea that a Buddy Hield makes you a difference maker in the East, okay. I pray to God I'm wrong, but are they better than Boston? I'll tell you right now, they're not better than New York.
No, they're not better than New York.
New
York loaded up.
They
Leon
did.
Rose. Good
And
day.
yeah, so I mean, if you're going to tell me that the Sixers, as currently constructed, and if you want to add a Kyle Lowry and you want to add a big at the veteran buyout market, okay, I don't care who you're adding, they're still not better.
I don't understand the Kyle Lowry obsession. I can't fathom it. What people think you're getting in Kyle Lowry. It's 2024. For God's sakes, what is the obsession with his name keep popping up here?
Yeah, when I saw the first mention by Woj yesterday of the reason the Sixers are doing this buyout market for someone like Kyle Lowry. And then when I was talking to someone yesterday, his name came up again.
Unbelievable.
I was looking to get answers to other things, so I didn't ask what the obsession was with that. But I don't get it. No.
Hey, we want to know what you think, and we want to know how you're feeling today. And the question is, first of all, do you think the moves yesterday that the Sixers sent you a message that Joel's back or Joel's not back? What do you gut instinct feel those trades and those moves yesterday told you? And if you have no freaking idea what they were doing and you're more in the Pat Egan camp, like, what the hell was the plan? We want to hear from you, too. 610-632-0975. We also will have, through the course of the show today, our Super Bowl prop bets. We're going to help you cash in this weekend. You may not even have to go to work on Monday after you get done using our prop bets to make yourself a fortune this weekend. Bet responsibly, and there's a disclaimer right on that one. We'll get into all those things today with you and your chance to win Stadium Series tickets coming your way at 8 here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic and 97.5 thefanatic.com.
A Fanatic Friday is presented by Pump Man Philly.
Pump.
There you go. 24/7 emergency repair, pump replacement. Count on Pump Man Philly, the guys to know to fix your flow. So there's going to be reaction all day long, and there's going to be reaction to what the Sixers have done. I like what Pat had to say when he jumped in, and I had the same thing in my notes. The Knicks are better. The Bucks are better. The Celtics are better. So I just do wonder what sort of the plan was and what you were trying to accomplish, what you thought you accomplished. And a lot of people are going to have that question for us. And we will get into that with you at 610-632-0975. I think they created a lot of questions, almost more questions than answers, because trying to figure out where are they on Joel Embiid's return. I lean towards Pat. I think that I don't believe they think he's coming back. I just don't. I don't believe that they're thinking he's coming back. And I guess they want Buddy Hield to get a chance to meet them, get a chance to see what it's like. They look at him as a piece moving forward. I don't know. I don't know what they plan on doing. I really don't understand it.
All right, let's look at it this way. And I just thought of this out of my head.
Okay.
If Embiid was healthy, right, and the season's going on the way it was before, they've lost, 7 of 8 now?
Yes.
If Embiid was healthy, did they have a good trade deadline day?
Yes.
You think so? Wow, you say that
to me? I
definitively,
say it definitive.
I just thought of this. It wasn't something I planned out.
It's okay. I mean, they didn't give up a first-round pick.
Right.
It really depends on what they do at the veteran buyout market, but yeah, I guess it was okay if he's healthy.
Because their scoring is something that would have been bolstered significantly, but their defense would have been hampered. And I don't know about the only reason I would even think about hesitating is the short term that you're playing half court basketball many, many times in the postseason, and this team would have gotten much more deficient defensively.
Yeah. The Hield thing makes you probably better offensively.
Oh, no question. I think the Payne
Spreads
thing
the
does
floor.
too. I really do.
You seem to know a lot more about Cameron Payne's game than I do. I got to admit that. I don't.
No, as far as just
numbers,
watching, just seeing. Believe
He's
me,
like a 38% 3-point shooter. Not that he gets a ton of attempts and all that.
no,
But
exactly.
he has that one quality that I like, John, that you know.
He's available.
He's left-handed.
Oh, you do love that, yes. You don't think
it's weird, though.
like a backup point guard, younger.
Yeah,
Younger,
I don't mind it.
they
You don't
can
have
hit
to try
that.
to sell me
No, I'm
on-
just saying
on
as
that,
far as
yeah.
that is that no, and Bob, I had to go to YouTube on Cameron Payne, honestly. So I mean, it's not like I think, oh man, what a great acquisition. It's just I don't believe if they thought he was coming, if they thought that Embiid was coming back, I think Pat Bev would still be here. I think I have a feeling they think a guy built for a playoff series, you may want Pat Bev in your playoff series.
Yeah, the thing that's weird about the Pat Bev thing, like I said, I think it's more eye candy for fans than it is actuality in the basketball realm of how much he helps your team. But you did get another defensive backup point guard in Cameron Payne. He's younger, bigger. So in that area, okay, you can either call it a wash or say you got an advantage, however you want to put it. I don't think that's that big of a deal. The thing is, Milwaukee needed perimeter defense. And if there's one thing that Patrick Beverley can still do, he can be an annoyance on defense.
An annoyance, yes.
You helped out, one of your rivals in that area. So that's kind of odd to me. That made me think, ooh, they just made a move to make a move to a rival. I don't think they think Embiid's coming back. But Pat put it out there 50-50. I think maybe that's where they are with hope lending it more towards 60-40. He's going to come back.
I feel their approach yesterday told me it was like 33%, like a one out of three is coming back. That's at least how I felt about it. I know a lot of people are going to want to share their thoughts at 610-632-0975. Mark gets first shot this morning. Mark, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey,
Good
Mark.
to hear from you, buddy.
Hey, good. So a couple things with the Sixers. I'll tell you right now, I think Daryl Morey kind of put me straight into Phillies mode yesterday. I was, I went and started getting my stuff out of the closet. I said, oh, well, that's a wrap for this. But I felt like I learned a lot. I know a lot less now. I felt that everybody else, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Bucks, they went shopping at the Deptford Mall, and Daryl Morey went to the Berlin Mark. That's the way I felt. It's kind of like when you say, like, and honestly, guys, the Kyle Lowry thing, I'm right there with you.
Oh my gosh.
So Kyle Lowry to me is like your friend who buys the BMW with 250,000 miles on it. It's like,
yes,
it's got 250,000 miles. Like, it doesn't matter what the label says. So the Patrick Beverley thing to me is baffling. Why would you send him to a rival? Because you basically got rid of a guy who was kind of coach playing on the court. You saw him coaching in timeouts. You saw him helping Maxey. And now you don't have that. And now you've given it to your rival. I don't think – I'm right there with you, 1 out of 3. I think 30% chance I don't think they think Embiid's coming back. What I think they missed was I was hoping for a big backup because Paul Reed can't start in the 5. We've seen that. So – I was hoping that maybe they did something for Drummond. Maybe it wasn't available, but I was hoping for a big backup. And the reason why, and you guys tell me what you think, if they would have got like a Drummond, then he would have been a tall presence where they could have kept the scheme of their offense while Embiid's out to allow Maxey and all them to continue to do what they do. And then the Springer thing makes zero sense to me. I'm not a Springer lover, but what they did for that made no sense. What they got back. Now, the only benefit is they didn't give any first rounders, which automatically tells me that they're just kind of, this is going to be a wash this year, and they're going to look at the all season and use all the cap money they're going to have available next year.
That's the way it's looking right now, Mark. Thank you for your call. We appreciate it.
And that's what I mean when I say I think they had multiple plans and they tried to address all of them. So what Mark said, they still have a lot of things they could blow up. This season blows up, and now you still are in a place where you can make a lot of moves to get yourself ready for next year with a healthy Joel Embiid. But if Embiid comes back, they probably feel pretty good. And you said yes right away when I asked you about what they did if he should come back, adding to this team currently if there is a playoff run to be had. So that's what I mean. Like it's like going on vacation. Some of your kids like to do the rides. Some of the kids like to hit the restaurants or something. You have to appease both, to make it all come together. That's how I feel the Sixers went into this. You got to hit up this year because we don't want to give up because you're not sure if Embiid's coming back or not. But you don't want to hinder the future either. If that was their plans, I guess they did okay on both of them.
And Pat, where you said it earlier is you're of the belief that if you you're not sure they had a plan, or something. Explain a little bit more.
I think they had a plan, but it went awry at some point, and then it's like, crap. We didn't expect to give up 3 second-round picks for Buddy Hield. Let's get some of them back. Who can we deal? Is there any interest in this guy? No. We traded all the vets. Pat Bev. Okay, we'll trade Pat Bev. And we'll get a second-round pick, and we'll get Cameron Payne in, and maybe he can be Pat Bev, and then we'll replace Pat Bev's position with Kyle Lowry, and then to me, that was, second-round picks can literally be bought. So while I was a fan of the idea of going in and selling and getting second-round picks, to try to just recoup them for the sake of recouping them by trading Jaden Springer to Boston, by trading someone to Milwaukee, those are like the teams that early in the season you go like, all right, Milwaukee, Boston.
They were the two, right?
Yeah, and then you sold them 2 guys.
Thing is, you wanted to sell yesterday, but you didn't like how they sold. Is that a fair summary?
No, I don't like the fact that they bought.
And then they sold. Okay.
Pick one.
Would you want Buddy Hield here next year?
I guess, but as Bob said, you're going to have to overpay him. That's just the NBA nowadays. You're going to have to overpay. I mean, it feels like the Sixers have often pined for Buddy Hield for whatever reason. I think maybe he fits here, but that roster next year might be wildly different. So I don't know. I mean, I like the idea, and I talked about this a lot leading up to the deadline, that Nick Nurse seemed to be playing everybody to give the rest of the league a look as to, hey, are you interested in this guy? Are you interested in that guy? And that was something that Doc didn't do. So I did like that. But I never thought at any point that it was going to lead towards a buy and then 3 hours later, okay, sell moves. And that's the definition of when you trade veterans and, for second-round picks, it's a sell move to me.
And if you watch, Bob, how the league looks at things compared to how fans look at things, the Jaden Springer thing, it on the ESPN, trade deadline, and they're showing all the trade deadline, and it didn't even move the needle. It didn't even. It got put on a graphic.
Oh,
but
yeah?
here it was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I mean, I think fan bases react differently than the people who are like, that move doesn't even. We're not going to do a segment on. We're not even mentioning it in a segment. Oh, here are some other moves that went in. They put it up on a graphic, and there's Sixers Jaden Springer.
Yeah, I mean, the timing of it is weird in that you lose Joel Embiid. This team is in the gutters right now, losing 7 of 8. You're trying to find an identity. You look everywhere, and here's this number 11, Jaden Springer, coming off the bench, and wow, he's getting right up in Steph Curry's face. Okay, that's cool, but there's a reason for 2 years the guy hasn't really been thought of in an NBA basketball game.
They see him every day. I mean, they see him.
The offensive side of the ball, unless he's going up and, getting an offensive rebound and putting it back in and opening eyes that way, there is no offensive side of the ball with him.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's the one, I guess, thing I look at. To me, it's more about the Boston thing than anything. If they had traded Jaden Springer to Charlotte, I probably wouldn't be outraged. It's the idea of you just traded him to Boston, a team that really develops talent. Now, with that said, Nick Nurse is also a great developer of talent. And Nick Nurse gave this kid a lot of opportunity, more run than he's ever had. And he started him, the game before the deadline, albeit because of injuries, but he started him. And he gave him 24 minutes. And, yeah, he looked at the time like he could be a good defender and whatnot. But I go to, if Nick Nurse doesn't think that he could end up working in the system, and I have a hard time believing that Nick Nurse didn't sign off on a deal like that, fine. But it's more to do with, if Boston wanted him, that's an organization you kind of just, mimic. You should kind of, follow what they do because they're well-run. And the Sixers, this deadline looks like what the Sixers usually do. It's it's just kind of chaotic.
Hey, let's see what Josh has to say. Josh, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Good morning, Bob. This was a fantastic trade deadline for the Sixers. Here's why. It works for this season and next season. If Embiid comes back this year, you're a better roster with Buddy Hield because guess what? That puts Melton at the bench, and you have the best three-point shooter to play with Joel Embiid since maybe J.J. Redick. When Embiid is double and triple covered, you're going to have a guy that's going to drain a three at any point. It also helps for next season because guess what? Next season, if you lock up Buddy Hield now, which the league's all about shooting, so that's obviously why they wanted him now to get that deal done. And they go out next season and get somebody to play. This was a fantastic deadline. All the guys they got rid of were not going to play in the playoffs. When you're in the playoffs, like Bob and everybody knows, you're down to a 7-8-man roster. So they tried getting Drummond. Chicago would not trade him.
Which is weird, isn't it? Wasn't that weird?
It is weird. It's weird. So they tried. This was a fantastic deadline, and I just don't understand the Pat Bev thing. He didn't shoot. He shot 32 or 33% from three.
I think less than that.
Yeah, exactly. So what Daryl Morey is doing is surrounding Embiid with three-point shooters, and people forget when the Sixers had the best chance of winning the NBA championship, it's when they had three-point shooters around Embiid, and that's why. And the Kyle Lowry thing is about one thing. He was the starting point guard for Nick Nurse when they won the championship. It's not about bringing Lowry in to play 20 minutes a game. It's to mentor and maybe run a system and coach Mackey. That's all that deal is about. So I don't get why everyone's freaking out about it.
Good job, buddy. I like hearing a little bit of that positivity this morning.
Yeah, it's probably the most
that's the most positive take you could find. Right?
It's probably the most optimistic call that we'll hear today about all that. It is. It's interesting. I'm not going to go overboard that way, but it is interesting if you add Buddy Hield to this team with a healthy Joel Embiid. Yeah, another shooter out there in the starting lineup. Yeah, that's interesting. Whether it comes to fruition this season or not, I don't know.
Jeff joins us. Jeff, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey guys, good morning.
Hi, Jeff.
I think I agree with what the last caller said. I'm not quite as enthusiastic about it. I wouldn't call it fantastic, but I think it makes sense. And I think Pat hit it right on the head. I think that if Embiid's healthy and if the rest of the team's healthy, like Toby and Maxey been sick, Batum's been out, Covington's been out, Melton's been out. If the entire team's healthy and you make this deal, I think for the most part you're happy because your top 9 and your playoff rotation is more or less set and better than it was before the trade deadline started. I think that's a fair assessment to make.
How do you feel, though? Do you feel this means that Joel Embiid is coming back? Your gut instinct, what do you think they believe?
I think they believe he's not coming back, or if he is, it's not going to be until maybe right up at the playoff time. And we all know that when that happens, sometimes he's not in shape. Sometimes he's still got lingering effects. So I think this is if he comes back, you got probably the best possible thing you could get for him, which is like J.J. Redick 2.0. And if he doesn't come back, you give Hield a shot and maybe you re-sign him for next year. But if you look around the league, none of the big names got traded. The only big names that got traded were traded a month ago in Anunoby and Siakam. So nobody got moved. Chicago doesn't know what they're doing, and they don't trade any of their players, even though they could capitalize on that right now. So, yeah, like New York got better. Boston got a little bit better. I guess the Bucks got a little bit better. But it's not like anybody else made a humongous splash. So I think Daryl's just playing his cards to his chest and saying, if Embiid comes back, great. If not, we have a ton of flexibility for next year.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, very good, Jeff. Good call. And that's kind of what at least what I'm saying. I think they went in with multiple plans. And like Jeff just pointed out, if he comes back, you're ready for it this year. If he doesn't, you're ready for next year. I think they covered both of those plans. Whether they're plans that you like or not, that's a different question. But if they had a couple of plans going in and those were them, it looks like they covered them.
One thing I wonder, though, is did they disregard right now the way you're staring at it? You're most likely going to have to go through some combination of Boston, New York, or Boston, Milwaukee to get to the. If you want to, if you think about getting anywhere or getting even to the, if you right now get to the conference finals, those teams are all better. There's no question in my mind. Those teams are all better.
Are they
even
better
if Embiid,
with
even
a
if
healthy
Embiid
Joel
comes back?
Embiid? It's close. Boston is.
I think Knicks are better.
Yeah, and like,
I love the Knicks roster right now.
Yeah, Knicks are good. They just have that thing. Like, they haven't done it. They don't seem to know how to do it as an organization until they get over the hump. Now, Leon Rose and William Wesley have done a great job there of making them prominent, of getting good people. They have, lower tier players, in air quotes, in the Jalen Brunson and DiVincenzo and stuff like that are just playing great basketball. With Joel Embiid playing the way he was playing earlier this year, I put Milwaukee, New York, Philadelphia. I could juggle them, and you have to pick which ball's the ball that you picked at the beginning, because I think they're all that pretty much that close. Now, one thing real quick. Some people are giving a seat about, Patrick Beverley's going to put Milwaukee over the top. I don't think any of us was saying that. They needed a piece. They needed a little bit of perimeter defending because they don't have it that well, and they got a piece that will help them. Nobody, I don't think, here said it's going to put them over the top or thinks, that's what it is to get them a championship.
Our 6 a.m. hour is brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. And there was something said by a former NFL star about a current NFL coach that may put Nick Sirianni in the crosshairs. We'll get to it next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. If you own...
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sorry, Pat. I had a perfect day yesterday, too.
Nah, I'm Pat Egan.
Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Thanks again to Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the Pro. We appreciate our friends at Bradford White and their fine support of the program. And those of you who listen every day on the app or our YouTube crew and everything, we greatly appreciate you too. Boy, it seems like Pat Beverly is a absolute lightning rod, though. I mean, it's just like, because in the midst of just the show today, I got 4 DMs, 2 of them, oh my gosh, you don't even realize the impact he makes on that locker room. And I just asked both of the people, not being flippant, can you tell me how many times you've been in the locker room? Can you tell me how many times they give you? You can hear all you want about, like, oh, well, look what he does for Maxey. Look what he does this. If Joel Embiid is not healthy, this team's going nowhere. And it doesn't matter if you have Patrick Beverly on it or you have Patrick Beverly not on it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I don't believe he's an impact player in the NBA. Pat and I disagreed on that earlier. I do not believe he's I don't believe anybody would call him an impact player. He's a nice piece on a team, and I think he's going to help Milwaukee. I think Doc's better off today having him as a piece.
Yeah, a piece. Yeah. Look, if I'm starting a team, sure, I'd love to have a Patrick Beverly as one of my pieces. You know, if I'm building and I say, oh, my 8th, 9th guy, sure, I'll take him. He's
sure.
Cool, he's fun, all of those things. I loved it, and I talked about it on air, when he took aside B-Ball Paul and was showing him how to properly defend a pick and roll. I think it was B-Ball Paul, or maybe it was Springer, whatever. But doing that on the floor, the guy loves to play the game.
And teach it.
I love to watch people play games that they love to play. So I understand the fan reaction. I absolutely do. When you can sit down and really, crack the nuts and look at it and say, all right, but how much does he help this team? I think you'll get to a better place of, okay, I kind of understand it. But, yeah, going to Milwaukee where they needed a piece like that.
And they did.
I just don't. That doesn't sit well with me. Now, we have a great question on our YouTube page. I lost it, but I know what the question is. I wanted to give credit to the person that asked it. It made me laugh out loud, John. Does Furkan Korkmaz get a video moment when he comes back?
Pat,
he's not coming back because the next time he plays will be in Turkey.
Exactly.
Because they already bought him out, right?
Yeah,
Furky
he's
can
been
get
bought out.
Yep. He's been bought out. Marcus Morris will be bought out, which is interesting because they'll need a big. So
you can't do it this year.
You're
not allowed, right?
You can't. You can't sign the team that got rid of you until after this in June something. Yeah, I checked on that yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can't. I was thinking the
probably
same
should
thing,
Google
Pat.
the rules before I start opening up my mic.
That's why we're here together.
Let me go and dump that.
But Pat,
so
what do you, if you don't think Korkmaz ever plays again in the NBA?
It was Bill Strobel who
Good
asked.
Job, Bill.
Yeah.
Fine artist.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But,
no, I think Furkan is made for the Turkish league.
And somebody questioned me also saying, did Bob really say that Jalen Brunson was lower tier? No, what I was doing was praising Jalen Rose and William Wesley for getting a Jalen Brunson who, is an all-star, is a great player. They got him in the second round with the 33rd overall pick. What I was doing was praising getting him that low and seeing that he was a star player.
Yeah, they did they've really done the Knicks finally have some adults in charge.
I got to tell you, I hate saying this. I've told you this before, that there's some places when on TV, Lambeau Field, something. When there are certain venues on TV, I love watching games there. Madison Square Garden is one of them.
It's fantastic.
I loved going there when I had to go there all the time covering the Sixers. I love watching games there. God, I hate to say this. That Knicks team is fun to watch. I watched a little bit of them last night. Last night was a great sports night with so much going on, for me at least. But they are. And Jalen Brunson is that crafty, really good left-handed point guard that has a lot of nice pieces around him. They're fun to watch, and I hate to say it.
We were flyered out last night. And I want to congratulate the Flyers on another. That was a huge win last night. Again, you swept the Winnipeg Jets on the season. I told you yesterday morning, the Flyers record, if you just take, I believe there's 8 teams ahead of them or 9 teams ahead of them in the NHL. You take the Flyers' record against those teams, it's ridiculous. They have played so well against the NHL's best, and the Flyers have come out of this break with huge wins over Florida and Winnipeg. And last night, they dominated the Jets. That was a dominant game, and I love seeing them beat the former Atlanta Thrashers. So yeah, I love that.
It was they did. They looked really good right from the get-go. They came out with a lot of jump. It was cool they get up 3-0 in the first period because I had other things that I also wanted to keep an eye on. Penn State men against Iowa. I have a friend that plays for Penn State, so I wanted to watch that game a little bit. Then you had the Knicks and the Mavs going last night.
Yes.
And then, of course, not that you guys care about it, but you had Penn State women against Iowa women.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, that started at 9, so I watched 3/4 of that game before retiring. But it was a great sports night, and it was helped by the fact, this is odd, that the Flyers dominated so much that you didn't mind switching away when they were up 4-0 and going back and being like, okay, it's still 4-0.
There's so many things to like about the Flyers story right now. I'm hoping it becomes more of a story as we go on and that they can hang around here, get into the trade deadline and things like that, March time, and be like, wow, there's 20 games left.
Yeah, the trade deadline's going to be interesting for them.
No. I'm saying there's 20 games left, and you're like, wow, they're in playoff position, and now we're 20 games left.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. I think they should stand pat and not buy, and I think they'll probably do that. But
I believe they won't, like you do. I don't believe they're going to be buyers.
I don't think they'd buy, but it'll be interesting to see if, as you said, you're sitting in a playoff spot.
Do you sell?
I lean more towards selling than buying for sure. I might lean more towards selling than standing pat.
Pat, I don't think they're going to sell if they're in playoff position. Let's say right now, I think they're in playoff position by 5 points.
Yeah.
If they're in playoff position by 6 points at the trade deadline, I don't think they're going to sell.
I don't think they'll sell, but I think they'll have high prices on guys. So if you do see a Scott Lawton go, it's going to be for a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those, look, we're open for business, but this isn't going to be like, you're going to come in with a Groupon. Like, you're going to have to pay a premium price for these guys. And it's not going to be last year with JVR where it's like we have our price and we botched that. And the reality is they should have given up JVR for basically anything they got, at the deadline. Like, this will be we got this guy signed for 2 more years. If you want him, you can have him, but you're paying multiple picks and they're going to be pretty high.
I couldn't agree with you more, Pat. I feel like I should come in there and hang out with you or something. That's exactly how I looked at it. If you're going to get rid of somebody down the road, and all right, you bring up Lawton, say that, yeah, I'm only getting rid if I get a really good price in return because, you kind of have had that luxury right now that you can stand pat and add on after this season. Yeah.
All right, we're not on Radio Row this year, and the 49ers and the Chiefs actually playing a Super Bowl this weekend. But I wanted you to hear something that I think refers to the situation you've got here, and I hope our man Dustin's listening to this one, about, from the YouTube crew, about Nick Sirianni. And it really wasn't directly about Nick Sirianni, but it tells you all you need to know. Ed McCaffrey, former star wide receiver of the Denver Broncos, the father of Christian McCaffrey, was being interviewed and talking about what Kyle Shanahan does compared to some other coaches in the NFL.
Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere. The thing that he does is he coaches the whole team. There's really not that many of them left. There's a handful of coaches like Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, one of them, who knows everyone's assignment on the field and can see them performing their assignment at the same time. They have the vision to see everything that's going on. The best coaches, like Andy Reid and like Kyle Shanahan, see the whole field at the same time. Not many people can even physically do it, but then he also is intelligent enough to know what everyone's job is, and he talks to the whole team. So my point is, he's a great football coach. There's a lot of coaches now that hire 2 great coordinators. They oversee the team. They give the pep talks. They organize the schedule, and then they let their coordinators call the game. He calls the offense and is the head coach and works closely with Coach Wilkes to install the defense all year long and knows everybody on defense's assignment and on special teams. That kind of coach isn't going anywhere.
What does that tell you, Pat? I just thought I'd open up your mic to that when you hear that. What does that tell you? Because when I heard that, I know Ed McCaffrey in his head was thinking of Nick Sirianni or coaches like him.
Why do you think he was talking about Nick?
The idea of just there are coaches who go and they hire 2 good coordinators and then they just give the pep talks and do that, that absolutely, to me, screamed that he was speaking of coaches like Nick Sirianni or someone like that.
The reason I don't know if he was talking about Nick Sirianni, but it does make sense, is because I don't know why he would even care about Nick Sirianni.
Well, the whole 49ers-Eagles thing has been pretty hot. Go on.
I don't know if he's even aware of the drama surrounding Nick Sirianni, like we are being invested in. You know what I mean? Like he probably doesn't like the Eagles because of everything that happened. But is he well versed in the fact that Nick Sirianni is a glorified secretary at this point?
Well, it's a perfect example, though.
But it is a good example. You're right. Like if you do think that he's talking about Nick Sirianni, I mean, it's not hard to put the pieces together there.
Or someone like him.
Yeah,
it summarizes the Nick Sirianni situation. Kyle Shanahan runs his defense, calls plays, meets with Steve Wilks, installs the defense, knows everybody like Andy Reid. We have a coach here who doesn't do those things.
It wouldn't shock me.
And they made it public that he doesn't do them.
It wouldn't shock me if I pulled Ed McCaffrey aside and said, "Who's the Philadelphia Eagles head coach?" And he had to think about it for a minute.
I don't believe that. He's a media member. First of all, he's a media member, so I don't believe that.
He'd have to think about it.
I
don't.
disagree with that.
Nick Sirianni is as far as coaching.
I think Ed McCaffrey is a good football man. He knows exactly who the Eagles coach is. But my point was, like, does he know at this point that Nick Sirianni is what he just described, or was that just by chance, or was that an indictment on, like, that's exactly who he had in his mind when he said what he said?
Fine. I don't think it's as much about Sirianni as it is just what he said summarizes exactly what we're dealing with here. It's the exact situation.
It is. And it's
Nick Sirianni's the guy who gives the pep talks, as you said.
Yep.
He's going to go watch Rudy and figure out what the pep talk is for the night. And then he's going to end up that's about what it is. As a strategist, he doesn't know how to call his own plays, or he doesn't think he's good enough, as he's told us at a press conference behind a microphone. And you got a guy like Shanahan in the Super Bowl, and you're like, okay, we're counting on our coordinators to beat the Kyle Shanahans and the Andy Reids of the world. That's what we're counting on, because their head coaches are the strategists on both sides of the ball. Ours is not. And it's been admitted in press conferences, which drives me crazy.
Do you guys remember the topic I did maybe in December of, like, is Nick Sirianni just doing this with, like, smoke and mirrors at this point? Because they were winning games, and at that point they were probably 10-1, 10-2.
Right.
But I was sitting there going, like, my point of the whole topic was, is he just winning on talent alone? Because it doesn't really look like this team is well coached. Whereas when you listen to that cut, it's like the best coaches are involved in everything. And maybe for all we know, Nick Sirianni is involved in everything, and it's just a matter of, just like with the first press conference you ever heard from him, he's just not a good public speaker. And he doesn't know how to, verbally communicate what he does to us, just like he didn't know how to verbally communicate what his team was going to be. I mean, if we all remember the famous, like, we're going to make our system easy to learn, but tough to defend. And it was like verbal diarrhea. Maybe that's the case, and he's a lot more involved than I'm giving him credit for, that I probably ever will give him credit for at this point. But I tend to lean towards he did it with smoke and mirrors. He did it with a very, very, very talented roster, a loaded up offense, and the year before, great coordinators that have in their first year as head coaches proved to be pretty good. People look at the record of the Cardinals with Jonathan Gannon, but that team played really, really hard for him, and they were completely rebuilding. This year, he had to do it with different coordinators, and he failed. He he couldn't get the team out of a tailspin. And to me, that is a real big indictment of a head coach when you start spiraling down the drain and you can't stop it. All right, bud, what do you do?
Yeah, I thought it interesting yesterday where I believe it was Britton Covey, a couple of guys talking about what happened to the Eagles this year, and they talked about San Francisco. And after that game, after they beat their doors off, they just couldn't recover, couldn't find themselves again. I was going to ask you guys, what do you think that speaks to? Does that speak to physicality, or does that speak to lack of mental toughness?
I think it speaks to a lot of things, and one of them is game planning and coaching, too. I think it speaks to that, but I think that they didn't have a counterpunch. When they were put up against the 8 ball, they didn't have a counterpunch. They didn't have something to be able to rebound. And that's a scary thing. We've got, Pat, I don't know if you have it there. We've got the Lane Johnson cut from Dan Patrick's show. And Dan asked him this question.
Explain to me what happened the last, 6-8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like as film piles up, and I feel like really after the 49ers game where, it's kind of them dismantling us, I felt like teams kind of piggybacked off that. So I don't know if it was something we were doing with our scheme-wise. Maybe the teams were on to what we were running, but it was a lot more difficult than what it needed to be because you've seen what the offense has been, and then you see that stretch, and it's, what's going on.
As tape piles up later in the season, people knew what we were doing. It's a scheme. Don't know if it's a scheme thing, but they didn't have an answer. They didn't adjust. That's him. That is him subtly putting it on the coaches.
Oh, I think it's full bore putting on the coaches. I don't even think he's being subtle. I think he was just like, yeah, teams figured us out. Our coaches couldn't figure out how to combat that, put us in bad positions all year long, and we couldn't do it.
That's Nick Sirianni, though. It's the thing is that, but you notice, though, as I said to you before, he did not come out and support. Lane Johnson wasn't one of those verbal people throwing bouquets at the feet of Nick Sirianni. That was Cox, Graham, Kelsey. The other guys who were staying, we didn't hear any of these oh my gosh, what a great coach he is, what a great guy to play for. Nothing, and that was throwing him under the bus yesterday on Dan Patrick's show.
Yeah,
I think Lane did.
I think he was being honest, right?
Oh, I do, yeah.
Talk all the time about leaders. Why weren't the leaders there to get him out of it? This is what I was talking about. You can lead as much as you want, but if your coaches aren't putting you in the right spots, well, a leader can't do anything for you. You go into a gunfight with a slingshot, and you're a great leader. Sorry, you don't have a chance. I felt like that's what happened to the Eagles there late in the year.
Okay, nerd, tell that to a little guy named David.
Oh, yeah, he did.
You just got owned, bud. You just got owned.
Did Goliath have a gun?
He did. He had a Glock, yeah. Yeah, he was
okay.
packing. Yeah.
Now, okay, so since you brought that up, Pat, I said we'll bring up
David and Goliath.
I say I'm going to bring up a thing for you as far as one of Shaq's favorite arguments. How big was Goliath? Do you believe, and how small? If David and Goliath, if you are okay, it's David and Goliath. If you think it was a real thing and you think it was a real story, how big do you think Goliath was back in that day? He was a giant, they said. So Shaq, I guess, was along the lines of, was Goliath bigger than him?
Oh, I don't know. No. Goliath was absolutely not bigger than him. Goliath.
No, I'll say Goliath was Shaq, and David was you.
Nah, man.
Why?
You don't think
think that's a good?
No, I think David was me for sure.
So David was you.
Maybe a little shorter. Maybe David was like 4'11". Because I'm a giant and 5'3". But I think David was probably 4'11". Goliath's probably 6'5". We're talking like what, 30 BC?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea.
We've gotten bigger as humans. So Shaq. No, Shaq would have been a dinosaur.
Well, that's what
he would have been a T-Rex. I mean, he wouldn't have been a giant. It would have been like, this is a mountain of a man. So no, I think Goliath is probably I think if Goliath suited up for the Sixers as a veteran buyout, he's probably playing the 4. Maybe even the 3, depending on his build.
Are you thinking that Daryl Morey would actually be able to deliver him in the buyout market? Because the buyout market has not been his friend.
It has not
since he's been here. Do you think that in the buyout market that Goliath would have gone, nah, I'm not playing with Embiid. I'm not doing that. I'm not coming to Philly.
No, I think he probably would, but what other suitors are out there for Goliath? I mean,
the Celtics
he's got no low post game.
No,
yeah, but the
really.
Celtics could develop him, Bob.
He's old.
Probably.
He's a vet in the game, but he's old. We're talking about Kyle Lowry being a little long in the tooth. I mean, Goliath. Whew.
Long in the tooth. I love it. Do you know? By the way, what the Pat? Do you know what the term "long in the tooth" comes from?
No idea. No.
When you're older, your gums recess.
Oh, the more you know.
See?
That's a
Teeth
good
look
fact.
bigger?
So your teeth look bigger because your gums recess. I had a dentist tell me that story once. And I'm like, well, as long as my gums
Those
are in good,
dentists, they're kooky.
as long as my gums are in great shape, I'm happy with that though. So, hey, Super Bowl this weekend. We will have our Super Bowl prop bet extravaganza. Each of us with 5 bets, each of us with $100 of fictional money to spend and to leverage on said bets. But there must be 5 bets made. We'll get to that coming up in the show today. But, hey, Buddy Hield's here, and the question is, if Embiid isn't coming back, what does it mean? Bob will try to explain what it means in the future, what we saw yesterday. John Kincade.
97.5 thefanatic.com.
Hey, Fanatic Fridays are presented by Pump Man Philly. For 24/7 emergency repair or pump replacement, count on Pump Man Philly. Guys to know to fix your flow. It is a Super Bowl weekend. It does seem a bit anticlimactic with the collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles. But there's always reason to be excited about the big game. We will have our selections coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. We will have all the picks, and each of us have our sportsbook app of choice. And I've been perusing the BetParks app this morning, getting lined up. I have my 5 bets. I have still not determined, though, how I'm going to spread the money out. That is the only thing that I'm leaning on, is which bet do I go heaviest with or otherwise. So we'll have...
it's fine. Some of us were prepared and some of us were not.
I have the picks. I have the 5. It's the question of how much money I want to put down.
Yeah, some of us have that all written down.
You have that all written down. You are immense.
Some of us
Bobby,
are ready to go.
All ready to go. Yeah, I mean, I get an assignment, I get it done, right? Me and Pat don't sit around and wait like you.
That's right. We've always been like that when school
You guys
work.
are just serious.
I had an agent call me yesterday about the trade deadline. I said, I'm going to have to call you back. Can't talk to you about it right now. I'm in the
doing
middle
my
of
bets.
doing my prop bets.
That's the way it works. Well, the trade deadline went down yesterday. And I got to tell you, I've never seen such a mixed reaction to almost any story. Because you can almost be correct no matter what you say. If you
Or
say
wrong.
If you don't like, no, but I mean, it's like but you could easily see in a room of 100 people, 40 feeling one way, 40 feeling another way, 20 being neutral. It is a really confusing way that everything ended for the 76ers for this year. And I can't help but think that the season sort of ended a bit yesterday. It just sort of feels that way to me, that there wasn't no one knows what the plan clearly was. And to me, if you don't have a clear plan, a clear definition of exactly what they wanted to do, that leads me to believe that maybe they really didn't. There was no urgency on their part. They didn't feel any urgency.
Well, I mean, the big factor is, of course, Joel Embiid. So did you do something so that if he comes back, the team is better?
I believe decisively they're better.
Okay.
But I don't believe that they are. I don't believe they're better than 3 other teams in the conference.
Well, you can't help that. I mean, you can only do your own team. So, all right, if they've done that, then that answers a question. If he doesn't come back, did they hurt themselves moving forward after this season?
I wouldn't think so.
So, therefore, those are 2 positives of looking at it. And that's why I say I wonder if they went in with multiple plans, those being the plans. If he comes back, we need to get better. If he doesn't come back, we can't hurt ourselves in the future. If that was their plan, and like you just answered, then yesterday was successful, right? You didn't lose any first-round picks.
Correct.
You have a ton of money still. But here's the other key here. I've talked about, and I've been negligent on this. I've talked about if Embiid comes back and what they've built and are they a better team and all that. All of that doesn't matter at all if they don't get this righted right now a little bit.
Because they're going to play themselves out of it.
Yeah, you've lost 7 of 8. You don't have a starting center on this team. I don't know who the hell you're going to field tonight. The guys that you just got aren't going to be here. You still have a boatload of guys that are out, and you're 3 men underneath your roster. Well, I don't know who's going to be out there playing tonight.
And
I really don't.
And that's part of the reason that they know what they're in for. They know how beat up they've been. They know how this roster looks. So to me, I don't think they could stare themselves in the face and say, guys, we have a really good shot this year. We got a really good shot to do something that we haven't done since 2001. Yep, these are the moves that are just going to help to secure it. I don't feel it.
Well, you can't because you don't know the health of your best player, of the best player.
I'd say it's fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you can't.
don't know.
They have to know, right? Like they have to, and like not necessarily if you'll play it, but they have a pretty good idea. You'd think.
I think there's hope. I think they've probably been told there's a chance. It's like anything, Pat. Like I can't tell you how somebody else feels. They can't tell you how somebody else feels. They don't know how his knee's going to react to this. You can have all the medical stuff that you want. If he doesn't feel right and doesn't recover in the way that they're projecting, then you don't know. So I think there's hope down there by them that he will, but no knowledge. I don't. I think it's a crapshoot. I really do. I think they're not positive if it's going to happen or not.
Dennis asked the question. Dennis McNeil with an email. We keep talking about adding free agents next year, and if you look at the free agent list objectively, who's out there worth signing? Maxey is the number one free agent out there.
Yeah.
If Tyrese Maxey is the number one free agent out there, then this isn't a free agent class that you're going, oh, man, lick your chops, clean the books off. This is the one you want to go for. So
the books are clean already.
No, I mean, now it is. But, I mean, it's not. If that was your plan, though, we need to have that. We got to have all that money freed up because, man, this is the year. We're going to load up on free agents. If Tyrese is the best free agent out there, and I'm not trying to knock Tyrese, but if he's the best free agent out there,
I looked at a list the other day. He was number 1. Tobias Harris was number 6.
That's a bad free agent class then.
Well, you're talking Pascal Siakam, Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan, Emmanuel Quickley, who's interesting, OG Anunoby, Sadiq Bey is a name that I wrote down just like as a side kind of little thing there. There's guys, and
I find Siakam interesting.
Siakam is very interesting.
I think he's extremely interesting. I think he's more interesting than Tobias Harris to teams to teams that are contenders.
Sure,
I think he's a more interesting piece.
And there is history there.
He's going to be way more expensive.
Oh, he is absolutely
The
a
max
lot
guy.
more expensive. So I mean, it's just if you're looking at is Tyrese Maxey going to be a max contract guy?
Yeah.
Well, rookie max, yeah. You're going to have money. Look, you're going to. Joel's getting paid. We already know that. Maxey's going to get paid big, and then after that, you have a whole bunch of money to play with. So,
but if you've got cash in your pocket, you've got a big wad of cash in your pocket, and you're heading into a casino, or you're heading to Vegas, or you're heading to a party spot. You have a big wad of cash in your pocket, and you're heading to Montana, or you're heading to Scranton. There's a difference, like, to me, as far as what you got. I don't know what's the use of having a bunch of cash if the stuff that you're going to buy, you're just going to end up spending on stuff that is sort of overhyped or overvalued.
You mean the free agents?
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have free agent money. People talk about, man, got to have that free agent available. But if the free agent pool is that thin, is that shallow, who cares that you have it?
You have the ability to trade. You still have assets. You still have money to play with. Although you don't have many pieces to trade.
Right. You don't have
any.
Paul Reed. You got nothing.
Yeah. I mean, do you like a starting lineup of Buddy Hield, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Siakam, Pascal Siakam? I mean, that's interesting. Fill in some pieces here and there. Maybe you bring back a DeAnthony Melton. Maybe Kelly Oubre is going to probably get paid some money, but I don't think crazy. Sixers got him crazy cheap this year. There's some pieces out there that if Embiid's totally healthy, look pretty nice.
I'm laughing because Terry asks. He said, "Are we ever going to find the car that hit Kelly Oubre before he leaves town? Will we ever solve that crime?" Or is that one his fate? Terry, you're bad. Is what as I told you, you are bad. That is a bad thing. Guess that will be one of those mysteries of life that never gets answered. 7 o'clock hours.
I can go on living my life without it, to tell you the truth.
It was just such.
What was his name?
Terry.
Oh.
Terry's like he is. He said, "Are we going to solve that crime before he leaves town?" I mean, that the car that hit him or the SUV that hit him. The all-new BetParks app is here for you. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app. Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we will have our picks coming up in the 8 o'clock hour of the 5 prop bets that we like as we look into it here. Pat, you believe there's reasons to be confident that this year is going to be the year that finally we're going to say Phillies got off to a great start or a really good start? Why is that?
I do. Look, last year, and you guys talked, and this kind of spurred on because of what was going on yesterday.
Sure.
Our conversation that we had yesterday regarding the Phillies and how their slow start has really prohibited them with now all of a sudden you're a wild card team. You've dug yourself such a hole that you're sitting there and you're like, we can't get to the Braves and it's mid-May, and how you can't afford to do that yet again. I agree with you. I don't think that's going to be an issue this year, and I think it all has to do with a couple of guys. Well, one of those guys being Bryce Harper.
Okay.
And another one of those guys being Trey Turner. Now, Bryce Harper came back, and he came back way earlier than any of us expected him to come back.
At least 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, it was insane. But he comes back, and it took a while for the power to kind of come back and show itself. And, he finished the season, and I got to look up his exact numbers, but he finished the season and he ended up winning a Silver Slugger Award, which I didn't think he was going to for the DH spot. But I got his numbers here. So he finished the season with 21 home runs, 72 RBIs, which is crazy considering he was coming back from Tommy John surgery and he was coming back extremely early. But I don't think you're going to see a scenario where Bryce Harper's power is absentee dadish for the first 2 or 3 months of him playing. I don't think you're going to see a scenario where Trey Turner is batting 250 or less for the majority of the season. I don't see that happening. And with those two guys being so important to your lineup, if they can just revert back, and I don't even want to talk about like reverting back to like their all-star ways, but you figure if Trey Turner can hit 280, 285 for this team, how far it's going to go. If Bryce Harper can go from 21, 22 home runs to the more realistic, 35 home runs that we've grown accustomed to with him, I don't think you're going to see this team fall into that trap and fall into that hole that they have the previous years. Last year, they fell into a hole. You had your leadoff hitter, and then he was taken out of the leadoff spot because he wasn't doing well, and Bryce Harper wasn't there. And next thing you know, by the time Bryce Harper returns, they were already more than a few games back of the Braves.
Oh, it was terrible.
And then on top of it, while I'm not a fan of the contract, I don't know if Aaron Nola is as bad as he was last year. Like, Aaron Nola wasn't good last year. And I think we're going to see more of because it's every other year with Aaron Nola. This should be the good year. So I don't think there's a situation where we're gonna be sitting there in mid-May going, well, I guess they're a wild card team again. Now they might end up a wild card team, but I think they'll be fighting tooth and nail towards the end of it with the division, with the Braves, and I think they'll be in the hunt.
And a lot of times, when I say what you just kind of laid out there, Pat, it'll come back to, but Nick Castellanos last year, he's not going to duplicate that. Castellanos, I said before the year, I said, if you can get a combined, and this was what he did for most of his career with Cincinnati especially, if you can get that combined 55 to 65 doubles and home runs, you're getting the best of Nick Castellanos. And I said before last year, that's what you needed to do. And he got you 66. He got you 29 home runs and 37 doubles. I think that's kind of norm for him. I think like a 35 and 25 home runs, doubles to home runs is really what he is. And he's probably going to be down in this like the 7th slot this year. And I don't think there's going to be as much pressure on him this year. I think he's going to be as good as he was last year. Now, I know our last memory is the playoffs and that, but
which was
for the whole
historically bad performance, worst ever.
For his career, I mean, he's more of last year than the year before.
Absolutely. That's what I mean.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to relay. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, Bryson Stott continues to get better, and he took a jump. Now, I don't think he's going to take a jump from hitting whatever he hit last year. He was really good last year, and his ability to work a count is really impressive. That's probably my favorite aspect of his game. But he's entering his 3rd year of playing in the majors.
Does Boehm take a jump?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's still pretty young,
right?
But if you can get a jump from Boehm, Stott, Rojas, throw Marsh in there because Marsh is still young.
If you could give me, if 2 of those 4 take a jump,
So exactly. So you figure, if two of those four take a jump, can they make up for the possibility that a Real Muto ends up, his numbers tick down a bit? And
they're trending that way.
Let's say a Castellanos doesn't live up to what he did last year, but it's not far off from it. But it's still a down tick in, like, let's say, home runs and whatnot, and doubles. Can those four guys, can their production and their tick up, can that outweigh it? I think so.
It's not going to get you past the Braves.
But
it's gonna if you're talking about career years from a bunch of guys, you could make, I think, over 162 you could beat the Braves. But I still believe this team can absolutely beat the Braves when it counts.
Yeah, the Braves are good, and look, they loaded up again. I mean, the trade for Jared Kelenic is very frustrating to me as a baseball fan, because I sit there and just go, like, I don't want to see him in a Braves uniform because he's a good player. I did the same thing like a year ago with Sean Murphy. Like, why in the world do GMs just line up to trade the Braves some really of the best good young talent they have? But I mean, the Chris Sale trade is going to be big for them too. So
if it works out, right?
And that's the thing. If it works out,
I don't like. By the way, I don't like that trade. I don't think Chris Sale's going to work out.
Well, then you like it because you don't.
No, I mean, I love it. No, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't like that trade. I wouldn't make that trade if I was the Braves. I wouldn't make it.
Then I'm glad they made it.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. But they're over 162. The Braves are going to beat you. Over the 162.
I don't know about that. I mean, we'll see. Baseball's weird. I mean, a year ago we were talking about how the Mets were loaded up, and it's going to be a 3-team race between the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies. And
somebody picked the Mets for third. I got one right.
I think I picked the Mets for last.
Let's see, I won.
No, I didn't. I did
not.
You do
hate them, though.
Yeah, I do. I mean,
you do. You
I
bring
really,
hatred.
this is going to surprise you guys. I really reveled in what happened last year to the Mets.
I don't see where they're going to be that much better.
What, the Mets this year?
Yeah.
They sold off a lot of their pieces.
Yeah, I mean,
they have like Lindor coming back and Alonso, but no.
And they're most likely going to deal Alonso, right? At some point?
I don't. He's a weird. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like right. Juan Soto in the sense of you got to start questioning why a team doesn't want him. Like Juan Soto getting traded from Washington was one thing. When he gets traded from San Diego, it's like, this dude's an incredible talent. What's going on here? And with Alonso, that's a weird scenario that they haven't locked him up to a long-term deal. I think they eventually will, but I don't get the sense he's real well liked in that clubhouse because he's such an oddball.
I had cousin Ryan asking me, why is Trevor Bauer still available? Why is he out there?
Did you see his tweet?
No, I didn't.
He basically said, like, look, people are looking for talent right now and value deals, and Blake Snell's going to get a long-term contract for a lot of money, and he deserves it. But I'll do it for the minimum and just make it incentive-laden.
I think, I at least things I've heard, he may be one of the biggest jerk teammates at a lot of teams.
I've heard similarly, yeah.
So,
he wasn't well-liked in Cleveland.
Is it Cleveland?
He wasn't well-liked. And, look, he wins a Cy Young with the Reds, and then they didn't really look to keep him. So I don't think he's well-liked.
And he was smeared. He was smeared.
Yeah.
His reputation was smeared.
Yeah.
And
but part of the reputation, too, was that he wasn't – yeah, he's a J.O. Like, he thinks he's, like, the smartest guy in the world, and that dates back to when he got drafted. He told teams, don't draft me if you're not going to let me do my long-tossing program. He's got this weird program that he's been working for years since he was a teenager, and it got him to UCLA. It got him drafted. But, like, he's always been that, like, I'm smarter than everybody else kind of guy. And you guys know in baseball, more than any other sport probably, because you're around each other so often, you need good locker room people, not guys that are going to piss people off and you roll your eyes when you see them.
Now, Tristan, by the way, sends along a note to us, our friend Tristan Holman. In the first book of Samuel, 17:4, it says that in the English translations report that Goliath stood 6 cubits and a span.
That's like 6'9".
That's 9 feet 9 inches.
Oh, wow.
You're off on your cubits, Bob.
You said cubits. I
cubits.
Said cubit.
Oh, it's 6 cubits and a span, or about 9 feet 9 inches tall. 9'9"?
That's a big
for
man.
Goliath. That's a big man. So, Pat, you may not have been the size of David. You could be. You could be.
I mean, I could.
And do you trust it? Do you trust people of that age?
Cubits. We're like, what are we doing here? We're doing cubits? No, they have no idea.
I mean, seriously.
I tower over David. I'll body David. Bring that slingshot over here, son.
Come on, let's get
I
after
think
it.
I'd take Pat over David.
You
I'm
would?
scrappy.
Why, you think
Yeah.
Pat's going to, like, trick him or something?
No, I mean, look, I might get my ass kicked, but I'll get a few good shots in.
Yeah, you're going to get after it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm scrappy.
How good is your sports memory? But I'm questioning you on this. Is it better when you win or when you lose? We'll get to that coming up. Plus, our picks extravaganza for Super Bowl 58. Our prop picks coming up in the next hour. Write them down, make cash, or buyer beware. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic. Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We will try to help make you some cash coming up. Bet responsibly this weekend on your gambling app of choice. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Super Bowl 58 coming up on Sunday. And again, just a little hint that I like some of the gambling podcasts, hearing about what they talk about. And again, if you are interested in some prop bets, you are going to be better off if you think you know the answer to a prop bet and you like it, to bet it today, to bet it as late as Friday afternoon to get the best odds possible. Because of the amount of money that's going to flood the market, it's going to hurt you. So if you think you know this weekend, because they say Sunday's crazy, quickest line movements you're ever going to see in all these props and everything. So, and I am staying away. I'm personally going to stay away when coming up, little tease. I am staying away from any of the Taylor Swift prop bets. I have no interest in a Taylor Swift prop bet.
No, I didn't
myself.
Even know there was.
There are some out there.
No.
One thing I just want to talk about here quickly. Damar Hamlin literally flatlined on a football field. Came back to play in the NFL, and Joe Flacco won Comeback Player of the Year. I don't know. I don't know. It's just when people are casting their ballots, I honestly don't know what people think. What they're looking at, if Damar Hamlin was not the Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Flacco played a freaking month. He played a month, and he wasn't that good. He was good, but he wasn't that good. And we literally had a player that flatlined on the field and had to be brought back to life. I'm a little shocked. I'm a little shocked sometimes. I don't like a lot of people that are casting ballots in these races. Will Anderson wins Defensive Rookie of the Year over Jalen Carter. Will Anderson was the 21st ranked edge rusher in football. Now, edge rusher is a prime position as far as some really, really great talents out there in the NFL. Jalen Carter was ranked as the 5th highest defensive tackle.
Really?
In the NFL, yes.
Wow.
Fifth
How's
highest
doing the ranking?
in a side-by-side comparison.
I was lost for the last 7 weeks of the season.
The 12 voters, that only Anderson and Carter were in the running. They were the only two guys who really, it was the two of them, and then everybody else, there's a huge drop-off. 12 voters decided to not vote for Jalen Carter at all. It's just, there are people who don't do their jobs. If you vote Will Anderson 1, you vote Jalen Carter 2, I get it. Totally understand it. I get it. You can absolutely make the case. But an edge rusher can't be compared to a defense. People are like, well, he had a sack more than Jalen Carter. Yeah, he's an edge rusher. There's difference. There's difference in position. You can't do that. But one guy was literally just a basic rankings was ranked so far ahead of the other. But if you're telling me that you omit him from your ballot totally, that just sucks. They need to revamp things. They need to revamp how these awards are voted for, how these things come down. Pat, I want you to have a vote. I want you to.
I don't know if I'm really qualified for it, but I do it.
Well, you're as qualified as some of the people who do that.
For that?
Look, you're looking to get paid. I'm trying to get you an honor, and you're looking to get paid out.
I got bills to pay. It's hard when Sally Mae calls and you say, "Hey, Sally, I don't have your money this month, but what I do have is a vote. I have a vote for Defensive Rookie of the Year."
Does Fannie Mae call you too, or just Sally?
No, it's just Sally. Sally's the worst. Everybody with student loan debt knows about Sally Mae.
She's a bit of a B word.
She's like Lou Blum with the towing. Yeah, everybody, Lou Blum's got that, like, the whole city on lockdown when it comes to towing. Like, that's
LEW.
That's
and
Sally.
right, it's LEW. It's not LOU.
Yeah, it's LEW.
And
Everybody knows.
And how do I know that? Just from the sign.
Just from the sign, because you see him everywhere. Like, he's got a monopoly on the city. And good for him, by the way. Good for Lou. But that's Sally Mae, and it's probably his cutthroat. It's like, yo, as soon as you're out of college, yeah, that's cute. You got a little degree. Money time.
Do you, Bob? I know you say it doesn't, like, you don't tend to care about these awards and everything like that. But when 12 voters leave, there's two guys who could have won the award. And again, if someone votes Will Anderson, totally get it. If someone votes Jalen Carter, totally get it. There are two guys who were the clear cut. It's one or the other. And 12 guys don't even put Jalen Carter on their ballot. That's like, you're either not doing your job or you have some sort of vendetta or grudge that you're trying to, like, I'm trying to make a statement with my vote. For whatever reason, which makes no sense.
They didn't think he deserved it.
That's ridiculous. There were two guys that were so far ahead. No one else is even in their ballpark of Will Anderson and Jalen Carter and what they assembled this year. And if Jalen Carter, as you say, he's invisible, the last thing it is. If he is, and he definitely was much quieter, he still was scoring out among the best defensive tackles in the game, statistically.
A lot of bad defensive tackles in the game then. He was invisible last 7 games of the year. Like, he was invisible. His name wasn't even talked about during. I'm not saying he shouldn't get, votes for defensive player of the year, and I can't speak for those people or whatever.
There were two guys.
As the DeMar Hamlin stuff goes, a lot of people are saying he didn't even play this year. He barely played. Like,
he did barely play. He did.
So are people being honest? Like, look, the comeback player of the year has to play. I don't.
Joe Flacco came back for a freaking month.
Hamlin didn't play, according to people. So I don't. You know me. I don't. If I had to vote for him, then yeah, I would do my research and study and all that stuff. But
DeMar came back from the freaking dead on the field to make it to be part of an NFL team, and that isn't a comeback. That is a comeback. People were wondering whether he would be alive, let alone whether he was going to be able to contribute. And be a member of a roster.
Yeah, and Joe Flacco came out like a month ago. Somebody brought up comeback player of the year, and he's like, "Are you kidding me? You have a guy that almost died, and you're talking about me, who just came back to throw football for a team for a little while."
He did that, by the way. Flacco, a class act. He did that in numerous interviews. He was like, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "I was sitting on my recliner watching games," and it's like, "Oh, he came in." And I think it got exposed at the end. Talk about exposed. That was exposed when the playoffs came around. Hey, Fanatic Fridays, presented by Pump Man Philly.
Pump, pump, pump. Pump, pump, pump.
For 24/7 emergency repair or pump replacement, count on Pump Man Philly, the guys to know to fix your flow. All right. We try to make you a little bit of cash. You can write these down. I'm going to write them down because we're going to have our own little competition. As far as trying to make you some money on your betting app of choice. We will tell you what our betting app of choice is because that way you need to be able to find these lines. And then you can make your picks. We will then spread out for you how we spend our fictional $100. All right, I'm gonna get started with the Bet Parks app. My friends at Bet Parks. It's where I find my lines. And I'm going to give you my bet first. I am going to go each team to score 25-plus points. I believe it's going to be a high-scoring affair. So that'll right now on the Bet Parks app get you plus 360 odds. I'm going to throw $40 on that. 40 of my 100 goes on that. Each team to score 25-plus points at plus 360 on the Bet Parks app this morning. Then I will take the first team to score 30 points, being San Francisco. You can get that for plus 240 odds this morning on the Bet Parks app. And I'm going to throw $20 on that. So I've already spent 60 of my dollars immediately off the bank. The first team to score 30 points being San Francisco. Here's where we go now. Total sacks. The odds makers are telling you it's the Chiefs. I'm telling you it's the 49ers. Total sacks, 49ers will have more sacks than the Chiefs at plus 140. I'll take plus 140 on that one, and I will put a $20 wager on that also. So I'm loading up here on these early ones, and then I'm going to give you two $10 wagers. Total turnovers over 2.5. You can get that for plus 100 odds. And I will then put $10 on neither team to score 3 times unanswered. There won't be 3 consecutive scores by a team. I'll put $10 on that at plus 135 odds. The total turnovers is at plus 100. So, again, each team to score 25-plus points. Total turnovers over 2.5. First team to score 30 points is San Fran. Neither team will score 3 times unanswered. And total sacks, San Francisco more than Kansas City. Where do you go, Bobby?
All right. On my FanDuel Casino app, I go this way. I'm putting $25 for Deebo Samuel to get an anytime touchdown at plus 140. Starting slow. I got Mahomes and Purdy, 50-plus rushing yards combined. I'm putting $25 on a plus 150 bet.
Okay, that's tasty. That is tasty.
Here's a little one that I'm putting 20 on at plus 138. Both teams have lead in the first half.
Oh, that's a different one.
Yeah, I like that. I think, somebody scores a field goal and then somebody comes back with a touchdown. I think before people settle in the first half, I think both teams will have a lead. Now here comes my big bets. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Travis Kelce will combine for 4+ TDs. I'm going to put down $10 at plus 500.
That's a tasty bet.
So McCaffrey's going to get you 2. I think Kelce gets you 2, and Debo's going to get you another one. There it is. So $10 on a plus $500 bet.
Oh, my.
At plus 450.
Another one you're going big.
I'm putting $20 down on Christian McCaffrey MVP. I like the 49ers to win this game. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit. I like Christian McCaffrey to win MVP plus $20 or $20 at plus 450.
Plus 450. Wow.
So that's an anytime TD by Deebo Samuel. Mahomes and Purdy rushing for more than 50 yards combined. Both teams have a lead in the first half. McCaffrey, Deebo, and Kelce combined 4+ TDs. And McCaffrey MVP.
Whoa. All right, Pat. You, Bob, you swung for the fences, Bob. And if you hit 1 or 2 of those, you've probably put this thing to bed.
Yeah, Bob's putting it on the table. I respect it. All right,
I do too. Very interesting picks.
My first one is going to be Rashee Rice over 67.5 receiving yards. That is minus 115. I am putting $26.77 on that one. That is gonna net $50.04 back. Okay. The next bet I will talk about is Brock Purdy over 248.5 yards at minus 115. I'm just putting $45 on that.
Whoa.
Yes. All right. Because I think the 49ers will be behind in this game. I think he'll have to throw to get him back in it. So I will put $45 on that one. That is going to net me $84.13.
Woo!
The next one I'll discuss is Travis Kelce over 6.5 receptions. This one, minus 166. Not a ton of value. That's why I'm only putting $12.50 on it. But it's going to come back $20.03.
Okay.
All right. I also like Kansas City to score over 25.5 points. That's plus 130. But I'm going to put $12.50 on that one as well. That one's going to bring back $28.75. And then to round it off, Kansas City defense to score a touchdown plus 600. Look, gentlemen, we're not breaking the bank here. We're just doing a little sprinkle of $3.23. That's going to win me $24.22. If all of these hit, you're looking at $207.17 coming back.
That's a good bankroll, baby. That's a good bankroll.
Appreciate that.
Bob really swung for the fences. I think
go big or go home.
I think I stayed more. I picked 5 bets that I think absolutely can win, but I avoided some of those biggest. The biggest line that I took was plus 360. Bob, you could put us away with 2 of those coming in. But Pat, I like your creativity with your money. The 77 cents. Can you take bettors behind the scenes? What goes into thinking 12 cents, 77 cents, things like that.
Yeah, so the first bet I did was Kansas City defense actually to score a touchdown. That was the first bet I marked down. I didn't want to break the bank with that, though. So I was like, you know what, $3.23, like I can afford that. All right, so that's why I did that one. You got to even it out, though. So when then my next bet came around, it was like, well, I got to even that out to a 30. So $26.77, that brought my total to $30 spent at that point. That's when we just hit you with a 45, 12.50, 12.50.
I think it's amazing. I think I want to give people winners another chance to win today. How about a chance to win Stadium Series tickets to go see the Flyers play the Devils at MetLife Stadium? How about that? That'd be a great way to be able to win.
To the shot, he scores! 97.5 The Fanatic.
We teased you a little bit there. There it is. So right now, Brendan Gunn's going to keep those lines locked until he's ready to release them at 215-263-0975. You've got a chance to win Stadium Series tickets for the MetLife Stadium game between the Flyers and the Devils. Navy Federal Credit Union, the presenting sponsor. You'll have another chance to win today with Andrew Salchunas at noon and at 4 o'clock today with the best show ever. Just listen for that Flyer sounder. And then you're going to be the 9th caller at 215-263-0975, and you'll be grabbing tickets to the Stadium Series game. We've had fun giving them away this week. A lot of people have been jumping in. And, again, when you call, thank Brendan for looking out for all of you on the app and all of you on YouTube to be able to still get your calls in as he delays answering. 215-263-0975. Visit 975.com for details. And another chance to win comes up today at noon and 4 o'clock. We've had fun giving away those tickets this week. A lot of people wanting to make the trip to the Stadium Series game.
Looks like it's going to be good weather, too.
Good weather for
time,
it, yes.
It looks like it's going to be about 30 degrees, somewhere around there. So perfect outdoor hockey weather. No rain, nothing.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great event. And just again, Pat, the Flyers are that was a great win last night. And to sweep the season series, to sweep it against Winnipeg, take 4 out of a possible 4 points, to take 3 out of a possible 4 points when you face the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, to go and beat Florida in Florida. I mean, this is a team. Now, that Boston game that I attended a few weeks ago was a pretty crappy one. But
they're the best team in the league, arguably.
They're absolutely ridiculous. But overall, this Flyers team has been great against great teams.
Yeah, they're playing really well. I mean, that's the end of the story. They're playing really well.
You're shocked, though, right?
I did not expect them to play this well under Torts this early on. But the thing you know about Torts is if you don't follow his edict and you don't play hard, you don't give 100%, you're going to be gone. And that's why you saw a lot of vets and roster turnover last year of some guys who were ushered out of here for not much in terms of value. And, you know, Torts used that first year to kind of identify who was worth keeping and who wasn't. And now you're kind of seeing that bear fruit a little bit. I mean, it's also important to remember you get Sean Couturier back. That's huge. Cam Atkinson coming back. That's huge. And they brought that up.
And Owen Tippett,
yeah,
too.
They brought that up before the season started of like, look, we're getting key pieces back that missed the entire year last year. But, no, I didn't expect this, but yeah, they're playing really well.
And getting Owen Tippett back's huge. Right
yeah,
now,
I mean he's emerged.
He's really has.
Yeah, I mean he's showing why he got drafted 10th overall.
Urson is a really good goalie.
He is. He's very good.
You know, he's just in the right place. You know, when Carter Hart was going well, you'd be like, it's not spectacular stuff. It's not the beautiful kick saves of a Bernie Parent in years past or him flailing all over. It's just being in the right spot and the puck finds him.
He is
right?
fundamentally incredibly sound.
Yeah, he just seems to be in the right spot all the time. And when that's happening, you see teams get frustrated and, you know, the Flyers get another shorthanded goal last night. And they're a fun team to watch.
Mike Vito, our own Mike Vito, tells me you can't call it a great win, in my opinion. They dominated the first, jumped out on the Jets, and then they hung out in the second and third periods, outshot 25-8.
What?
They were outshot 25-8, so he's saying you can't call it a great win.
Dude.
Come on, Vito.
Vito, to take it somewhere else, bud.
They outscored.
They won 4-1. What are we talking about here?
They outscored Winnipeg 6-1 in 2 victories. That is great. You win 4-1. The Jets are one of the better teams in the NHL. That is great, and it's a great series. Come on, Vito.
That's like getting a milkshake and complaining that they're it was free, but there wasn't whipped cream and a cherry, so
it was too cold.
Yeah, like come on, Vito. Like be better, dude.
He really does.
You're a friggin' Flyers fan, and you're gonna complain about a 4-1 win.
I gotta tell you, I like
dude.
Mike, and I'm not. I gotta agree with you, Pat. What the hell is he talking about?
Wait a minute. Haley said
here?
Haley's on Team Mike. Haley's on Team Mike. The last 40 minutes were too flat. Ridiculous. You didn't have to. You're up 4-0 in a game. You don't play the same way, and Torts doesn't want them. I mean, come on. Torts says. I think the post-game presser was a minute and a half, maybe. I mean, he was like, "Yeah, win, move on." Look, he wasn't happy with it.
No, but the Flyers fans all of a sudden are poo-pooing a 4-1 victory
over the Winnipeg Jets.
Okay. I mean, it must be nice to be the gold standard of hockey. I must have missed that edict, but that press release that went out that the Flyers are just, the Stanley Cups left and right, and they're that gold standard that you can sit there and poo-poo 4-1 victories.
I can't.
We can only be so lucky.
I said this is where this season frustrates me. Because I appreciate Mike and Haley and their thoughts as Flyer
I do
fans.
not.
But I would say to you this is where it bothers me. You were picked to be one of the worst teams in the NHL this year. You're now 5 points from being out of the playoffs. You are in playoff position with 30 games to go. Nobody was calling for this. Nobody thought it was going to happen. And I'm going to damn well celebrate it. Like Elizabeth Mostovic, who won tickets today to the Stadium Series game. Elizabeth, do not listen to Mike and Haley. Celebrate the wins. Don't be critical of this young team that wasn't supposed to win a damn thing. And Elizabeth will be there cheering for the Flyers.
You go, Liz.
Congratulations. We had 2 female winners this week out of 5, by the way. Very, very good. Get on in. You'll have another chance to win with Andrew today in middays, and you'll have a chance to win today at 4 on the best show ever. So we'll be all over it here for you. Andy Reid says he has a really great memory. I want to know about yours. I'll test it on Bob and Pat next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Morey making moves. I'm Pat Egan. This sports update is brought to you by NetCoins. Take advantage of zero funding fees, fast trading, plus $25 credit with
So you'll hear that Daryl Morey press conference later on today. What are you expecting to hear, Bob? If I it's sort of a speak for yourself. By the way, Monday, can you do a speak for yourself on it? Because I can't imagine what he's going to say.
Hopefully Monday we'll have him speak for himself.
What?
Yeah, well, that's the hope. We've been in contact with the Sixers. We're hoping to get Daryl Morey on Monday on one of our shows, either ours, Andrew's, or the best show ever. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Expect him to say, it was really tough having to do something when you don't know where your superstar player is. I think he'll address it. They think they covered both plans. They made the team better if Embiid can come back this year and return to his normal self, and they didn't waste really anything of the future. So I don't think we'll get a lot, but I think the gist of it will be pretty much that.
Do you think it'll be we're really pleased? Like they're going to spin it as we're really pleased? I'm wondering this.
Well, I don't think you're going to say, we're really unhappy that we picked up.
No. I don't expect them to say that. But are they going to try to be gushing about it? Or is he going to be measured? And another thing I will be listening for today when you hear it, 4:45 here in the Fanatic. I will be listening for if most of what he talks about is flexibility for the offseason and next year. Look how cleared up we are for next year. Look how much freedom we have for next year. The more I hear about what next year is going to be about is going to tell me all I need to know about whether Joel Embiid's coming back. Now, is that reading too much into it?
Well, they had a lot next year anyway. So, I think he'll address that they got the team better. Here's the gist of what he's going to say. We got the team better in getting a really good shooter in Buddy Hield that'll open the floor, that if Joel's allowed to come back now, our bench is stronger because we have Oubre and DeAnthony Melton getting them healthy, and the bench is stronger and all that. So we improved the team this year should Joel come back. We didn't damage our future assets at all, and we still have a lot of wiggle room during this offseason to surround Joel and sign Tyrese and do that. That'll be the gist of it.
You think that'll be that's the general message?
They didn't do anything or they didn't do much to make the offseason better. They didn't screw it up.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so I don't think I don't know. Is he going to be overly, look what we did? But no, I wouldn't expect it if they got, the three best players in the league. I don't think they'd come out. It's going to be very measured, and, we made some business decisions, and we feel that we hit on all the decisions we made.
Does it make you does Buddy Hield have – if you got Buddy Hield, obviously that means you want to sign him, right?
Maybe. I mean, maybe.
Because I would think it means – that's how I'm looking at it, at least. I would expect –
if he comes in here and you go, oh, damn, he doesn't look as good as we thought he was, or that shot isn't falling as much as it was. See, here's going to be the hard part. And – a lot of people are saying on our YouTube, we're saying earlier today, like, Buddy Hield's not the scorer that he was or shooter that he was. On an Indiana team, and T.J. McConnell came out and said that, he gets a lot of attention.
Yes.
On a Sixers team, he's not. Defenses aren't going to be looking to shut him down when you have a Tyrese Maxey and a Joel Embiid on the floor. He's probably going to get more open shots here than he did in Indiana. So can he be an asset? Yeah, it's a trial period. You look at him, you might say, wow, I think he would fit really well with Joel Embiid. We'll look to sign him in the offseason. You might look at it and say, he's not what I thought he was. No, you have that luxury.
I think last 3 seasons, he's second to Steph Curry in threes. Last 3
threes made?
Yeah, he's like his three. He is a hell of a three-point shooter. I mean, this is a guy who he should be a huge asset. But the question is it an asset? If you're paying Tyrese, so does this mean Kelly Oubre? Because Kelly Oubre is going to obviously, I would think, get more than a 1-year deal. You're going to have to commit. If you want him to stay here, he's going to have to.
Oh, sure.
Be given some sort
There'll
of
be a team out there that probably sign him to a 3-year deal. Or
that's what
something like
people thought last year, though, which is weird. Has Oubre helped his market value, you believe, as a Sixer?
Has he helped it as a Sixer?
Yeah, as a Sixer, has he? Because last offseason, we would have thought coming out of Charlotte, we would have thought that he was going to find a deal. That we would have thought he was going to find a deal for a multi-year deal. He didn't. He was sitting out there looking for work. and he ended up getting a 1-year deal here. Do you think that this year is a better, like, sort of commercial for himself, so more people will be out there trying to sign him?
I don't know if he didn't get a 1-year deal here. What, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not following the question.
Well, I mean, like he didn't get any kind of he's not getting any kind of commitment long term. I'm wondering what they think the market's going to be for Kelly Oubre this offseason. Do you think he made a really good showing this year that raises his market value compared to what the market value was last year?
So he had a 4-year deal for $94 million with Indiana.
94, wow.
Yeah, so this year he was making 18. Is he going to get a $494 after this? No, I wouldn't think so. I think he'll get another payday.
So is it a payday that you think they could afford here?
Oh God, they can afford pretty much anything.
Okay,
here. Yeah.
So you think they'd be looking to do it?
360, maybe. I'm not, I'm not that great with those numbers. 350.
You think in shorter term?
Yeah, I mean,
maybe a little bit more. Give a shorter term.
Yeah, he's 31 years old. That was the great deal he was going to get. Was that what he just got? That past one. So now it's, you're kind of closing out the career 3. He'd love a 4-year deal. Of course, who wouldn't? But,
sure.
If you get him 350, pending on how he plays for the rest of this year and pending what you see, that's doable.
Pat, tell me about your memory. My memory is shot today, by the way. Tell me about yours. Tell me about your memory. Do you think you have a very good memory?
It depends on what the topic is.
Okay, explain that a little bit.
Like, some things I'm incredible at. Where guys went to college and drafted.
You are incredible.
Everything that will not get you paid, I am phenomenal at remembering stupid trivia.
Okay.
If it is something like I have to take something to the post office, yeah, I'm forgetting that all day. We have a contest coming up. Yeah, I'm forgetting that.
That was on me, by the way.
Oh, we have a contest coming up in 3 minutes. Oh, yeah, no, I forgot. My short-term memory kind of sucks. My long-term memory is pretty decent.
Bob, how do you consider your memory?
What's the question?
Exactly.
Jeez, Bob, come on.
It's weird. Pat and I were just talking about this on the break. Somebody got in touch with me and is writing a book about something, and they went back to, I was reading your story. You covered a game. And I said to Pat, I'm like, I think it was from 2003. And I said, and it was a special season for this team. And I was like, is it weird that I might not even remember covering that game? And Pat's like, I don't know. How many games have you covered? And I said, well, it's got to be close to over 1,000 that I've covered and written stories about. And many of the games, Sixers games, you're writing 2 or 3 stories. So my memory is good on things I care about, not good on things I don't really care about.
Do you remember in more detail good moments or bad moments?
Hopefully good, I would say. Yeah.
Hopefully, or do you?
No, good. Yeah.
So good. You remember.
If there's
bad moments, you tend to wipe it.
I wipe them away.
What about you, Pat?
Probably bad. Like, in a prime example would be after a season's over, like the Eagles season. I'm going to remember the bad moments more than the good moments. The good moments being they were 10-1. The bad moments being last 7 weeks of the season. I'll remember the bad stuff more than the good because as a sports fan, it doesn't really matter how the season's going or even how the team was supposed to perform. I think it's like in our DNA as sports fans that it's like we expect the team to win. If they don't win, then it sticks out. So it's a lot like an example would be like, let's say the Eagles are playing one of the worst teams in football.
Okay.
And let's say they're playing the Giants and they win. And then we come in Monday and our phone lines are usually dead and talking points aren't great because we expected them to win. That game doesn't stand out. We expected it to happen. But conversely, if they lose, you can't get in on the phones. Jam-packed. Talking points, are long, lengthy. That game stands out more than the game that they should win. And in a lot of cases, football being the outlier because of 17 games, but for basketball, baseball, and hockey, I think, we just go in and we go, yeah, okay, like deep in our recesses, we think they should win. So when they win, we go, okay, next one. And when they lose, that sticks out more.
Okay, so Andy Reid says at a Super Bowl press conference, he can remember every play that cost his team Super Bowl 39. So the Eagles Super Bowl in Jacksonville versus the Patriots.
Every play that cost them?
He can remember every single mistake from that game, every single bad play that cost his team in Super Bowl 39. Andy Reid, Pat, is more like you and I. He says that when something bad happens, it sticks with him more than something good happening. That he can remember chapter and verse the bad plays that cost him in his first Super Bowl. Now, the question is, to you, I mean, I tried to block stuff like that out as a fan, but all I can think of is 3 interceptions from Donovan McNabb, 2 in the red zone, and they lost by 3 points. I can think of the fact that it's the only Super Bowl that was ever tied after the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. Like, I remember details of that game, but the good stuff in that game, other than just saying T.O., was one of the most courageous, spectacular performances I've ever seen from a guy 6 weeks from a broken leg that I could ever imagine.
118 yards.
That's what I remember.
Insane.
I remember Terrell Owens being the best player on the field, I think, for both teams that day. But the negative stuff, Andy says he net every single play.
I would believe that. When you lose a game, you remember the bad because that's what prevented you from winning. When you win a game, like if I were to say to you, tell me the bad plays that the Eagles made in that New England Super Bowl win.
Oh,
we're going to have to reach, aren't we? Like
the bad
plays. The bad plays.
I remember Gronk being not covered well once, but I don't remember hardly anything.
They had 3 receivers over 100 yards. They had a lot of guys that weren't covered.
Who's the Penn State guy that had a good
Scott
had a good game? The lacrosse guy.
Oh, Chris Hogan.
Hogan. Like they made Hogan look good.
He had over
7-11. He's always open.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you go back to that game and you say, all right, give me your memories of that, it's going to be the 4th down play. Obviously, it's Philly. You know, you're going to mention probably the first 15 things off the top of your head are going to be good things because they won the game.
And I tried to think of bad things, and immediately I struggled for the Super Bowl win.
It's going to be generalities. It's going to be, Brady threw for 511 yards. Oh, no, specifics. Let's get into specifics. And it's hard. Your bad goes to losses. Your good goes to wins.
Okay, so I give you this. What is the play, the bad thing? I look at last year's Super Bowl, and I'm baffled that more people do not. A Super Bowl you lost by 3 points. And I immediately think Jalen fumbled, totally unforced error, gave them 7 points. They lost by 3. There is the swing of that game. The swing of momentum, the swing of the game, Jalen fumbling an unforced error off his own leg. That's the play that comes to mind for me.
Yeah. That is the play. The punt is another one.
That's what now I asked 2 other people this yesterday. One of them just said the punt. What was the other third play?
My third play, and this is I don't remember the exact specifics, but both Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham had beaten their men on the outside. Had beaten, like, clearly. Not a kind of a swim move, got the offensive lineman's arms down to his side, had the edge, and both of them on the same play slipped down.
So you think of that one?
I do.
Is that the play, the scramble? Is that the scramble play by Mahomes?
I believe. No, I think he stood in the pocket and completed a pass. But like that, it's more of an anomaly not an anomaly. It's more of a microcosm of the day that you had a play and it slipped out from under you.
Our own B Gunn, Brendan Gunn, says the motion plays for TDs by the Chiefs.
Oh, God, yeah. That's a great one.
That were fantastic. Like, he remembers either one of them as being that's the play that he thinks of.
Good
Pat,
job,
what's the one?
B-Gun.
What's the play, Pat? If you had one, what's the play?
It's funny you guys bring this up because B-Gun just brought up a great one. I don't really remember, and for whatever reason, like the muffed punt doesn't really stick out to me, and I don't know why. It probably should because
5 minutes to go in the game.
It's brought up by everybody, and for whatever reason, it doesn't stand out. It's probably the pass interference. Because that's a great one too.
You're
looking at third down, and if they can just hold them to a field goal, it's a completely different scenario.
And the clock is different.
Yeah, and the flag comes out, and as soon as you saw the flag come out, that was the moment you knew they're not winning the Super Bowl, and they should have. You're up at 10 at the half. The fumble at the time didn't look like it was going to, be all that big of a deal.
Because you scored on the next series after that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and you go into halftime, and you're feeling great.
Right.
And at that, and even with the third down play that I just talked about, when the ball's in the air, it's like, if they can just hold them here, I have a lot of confidence that they're going to go down and win this game.
If the Chiefs had a 3-point lead with, I think, 2:28 on the clock.
Yeah.
2:30 on the clock. Come on now.
And
you're feeling good.
The flag comes out, and at that moment, it's like, yeah, all right, this game has like a minute 15 left, but this game's over. And that to me sticks out by far more than any other play. It's that, and then it's, a second would be the fumble.
Andy couldn't say in one interview that he did with the Kansas City crew, he could not tell you definite touchdown scores in Super Bowl victories. Like, he was asked about Super Bowl victory, and he was
he forgets about Greg Lewis. He's on his staff.
He's going, wait a minute here. Oh, yeah, I'm not really getting that one. It's so funny that he harps on the bad.
That's disrespectful to G. Lou.
It really is.
I mean, you walk down the hallway, and he's sitting there in the wide receivers room. Like, come on, Andy.
It's pretty amazing. If I asked you right now, the 2023 Eagles season came to a close. It's the biggest disappointing finish in Philadelphia sports since when? I have my answer. I'm going to hold it. The 2023 Eagles season coming to a close the way it did is the biggest disappointing finish in Philadelphia sports since when? For you, for a team, for anything like that?
This is way before a lot of people's time. Sixers had just won an NBA championship with Moses Malone and Julius Erving and Maurice Cheeks and Bobby Jones, all Hall of Famers, and then come back the very next year and lose in the first round to the New Jersey Nets.
Yeah.
Was that Jeff Ruland?
No.
Right, the next year?
I don't think so. Oh, then the
Ruland,
trades were made a couple days later, or a couple years later, yeah. But
was that a best of three?
Yeah, I believe they got swept. Michael Ray Richardson, who was all coked up, came in here and just busted them out. Like, I'm not presuming. I mean, that was proven. Yeah, that to me was, man, the Sixers might have a dynasty here. Plus, let's not forget those guys that I mentioned. Oh yeah, and then they had the 5th overall pick in '84 and got Charles Barkley, and they could never win another title.
I don't remember that.
I know you don't
quite as much.
I know you don't.
But yeah, well, they had the 5th overall pick, and then they had the 10th overall pick, and Leon Wood.
Leon Wu, because there ain't no D.
There ain't no D. Yeah, he became a ref.
Give me a season, Pat.
The most 2011 Phillies, by far. That was the best team I've ever seen.
That's my answer.
In terms of Phillies teams, that is the best team I have ever seen in my life. That team was an absolute unit. They steamrolled the competition in the regular season, and then, they ran into a hot Cardinals team. And it's looking back on it too, what sucked the most was the Cardinals barely got into the playoffs. I mean, they squeaked in by beating the Braves, and at the time you're celebrating because you're like, ha. You're Nelson from The Simpsons pointing and laughing, going, yeah, Atlanta's not in. This is great. And then it ended up being that the Cardinals, were the team of destiny that year because they went on to win the World Series, but they beat you in a 3-game series. I've always hated the 3-game series because of it. They beat you in a 3-game series. Chris Carpenter on 3 days rest. Doc Holliday going, but he gives up the 1 run in the first inning, and that's all the Cardinals needed, and that sucked because that, to me, was a 162-game coronation to a championship. And to see it end the way it did, yeah, that team's the best team I've ever seen. And the fact that they didn't win a championship is a shame.
That was mine, and I got corrected by that it was not fair for me to put the 2011 Phillies on it.
Why?
Because of the fact that the Eagles' collapse was an absolute pitiful display of effort, a team that it extended over 2 months. And that Phillies team, it was a 3-day blip.
It's like what we talk about, that's baseball. Pat, 3 games. And the person who ever told you that has a point. So fine, we'll go 1964. We all remember that. I was alive.
We don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of us were alive for it.
I was celebrating a possible moon landing. I was talking about this dude named Kennedy. It was crazy. Getting ready for Woodstock in a couple years. That was good living. And then Cookie Rojas had to Oh, cookie.
Pat, your skincare routine's fantastic. I mean, you don't even look. You don't. Look,
I don't.
You don't look 60 years old.
No, I don't. But I lived it. Yeah, I mean, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a trying
so that
time.
aged you a little bit.
Trying time. Yeah, I mean, but it was made a little bit better by knowing that the Eagles had won the NFL championship the year before. So.
Yeah, I think this Eagles collapse will probably start falling below all the seasons that we mentioned as the years go by because of this. Those were shocking. Those were surprising. Those were totally unexpected. When it came time for playoffs, there were many, many of us that didn't expect the Eagles to win.
Oh,
that
no question.
Game. You know what I mean? So they got to such a low point that it wasn't any more surprising. The Phillies, like you guys perfectly mentioned, shocking. The Sixers team that I mentioned just had won a championship, favorite to win the NBA title again, gets swept in the first round. Like, those were quick. Holy crap, what the hell just happened here? Whereas this Eagles, it was just that slow death by a million, stabs.
All those little cuts. Hey, Dom, we'll get to you and more because there's a lot of people want to share a thought on that at 610-632-0975. The losses sticking with Andy Reid more than the wins with all of his success is just fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. But we got a lot more to talk about, too, with the Sixers trade deadline and more of your reactions. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic. WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The 9 o'clock hour of the John Kincade Show is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com. I challenged people to go buy a Bagster this weekend. Go buy one. If you have a project around your house or you have like a crappy garage, a dumpy basement, you've got areas where you bunch of junk you got to get rid of. Buy one this weekend and just put the Bagster up against the wall in your garage where you see it every day. I promise you'll get rid of it. You'll make the Bagster. You'll get the dumpster all set up, your Bagster, and you'll be dumping everything in your house in it. Bob, I'm just suggesting that maybe, I may have gotten word that you have an area you could use use Bagster in. And
I always find springtime a great time to, start unloading.
Unloading?
And,
all right, now, yes.
I don't change around the furniture. I just, make sure that I get rid of things that I don't need anymore.
Yesterday, yes. I had the text before I came home, Pat, that Christina had rearranged the main room of the house, the giant living area.
Okay.
She had rearranged everything, the art of the wall.
It's a giant living area.
It's called feng shui.
And she then decided to be like, send me some pictures and go, so what do you think? Well, I hate change. So I was like, honey, it does look beautiful. And it did look beautiful.
Send you some dirty pictures, huh?
She didn't send those, but I should. And especially after I then
check out that sofa,
So
Daddy.
then what does she do when I walk in the door at home? I am in the door. We literally have the little place where you put your junk, you drop your stuff, take shoes, put them all in there.
Yeah.
I literally walk in the room and it's like, so what do you think? I haven't even had a chance to breathe. And it's, so what do you think? You like it? She knows I hate change. So it's very difficult to do that. So you can put that music away. I think I displeased her, Bob. I think I displeased her by
kingdom.
I can't give an answer on something. She's rearranged my entire living space and made it look great, and it looks great.
Yeah, but there you go. So that's what you said.
I didn't have a chance to even react to it yet.
What was the reason for it?
She's bored.
She needs a hobby. Yeah,
she's bored. She's bored, I think. It's look, Pat, she's a girl who grew up on the beaches of Jamaica. And now she's in sitting out there in Landview freezing her backside off.
And now she's in Westchester.
So she's doing all these fun things and changing around. Now it looks good. When I have a chance to absorb it and everything, okay, it looks good.
Take a step back and all that. And it doesn't sound like, to me at least, what I learned from this is it doesn't sound like you are a
king in his kingdom.
No. I am very much like a boarder.
Yeah, you're just here for the ride.
Hey, Tasty Cake Dom. Good morning, Dom. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. The first thing I want to tell you real quick, John, is I have to do these rehab exercises every morning, to kind of get me back on my feet a little bit.
Okay.
And I put you guys on YouTube, and you guys really help me out. So
thank you, buddy.
It distracts. And this morning's conversation was fascinating to me because I agree. Like for me, the number one Sixers game I ever remember in my life is I was a sophomore in high school, John, and I begged my dad because the game was not on live; it was on tape delay. But it's Game 6 of the finals, and the Sixers are going to win and make a Game 7.
Magic
Johnson. The bar's out, and the point guard jumps center and scores 40 points.
It was a Friday night, Dom.
The championship. Yep.
And it wasn't on TV till 11:35 at night.
Right, tape delay. They didn't believe it.
Yes.
And the second thing real quick is you made me think of my dad because, John, my dad died September 5th, 2008, so he didn't see that championship.
Oh, no.
But more than the 1980 championship, and my dad was a Phillies guy all the way, the number one thing he said in his life is he had a vendetta, John, against Ozark for the rest of his life.
For 78?
Just take Lazinski out of the game.
Black Friday.
Put Jerry Martin in that like he did all year. That was his number one Phillies comment way more than the 1982.
Hold on.
So the negatives are
outweighed.
the ones that stick with you, right?
Yeah. I cried that day, Dom, on that Black Friday because we had tickets to like the next game or something like that, and it got ruined. But I want to let you know, I appreciate the text that you sent to a mutual friend of ours. It did get to me. I appreciate you. Don't worry, I'm thick-skinned. If people say bad things, I'm okay, Dom.
Well, I love you guys, and like,
Thank you, Tom.
I just wanted all you guys to know that for me, I got to put these ankle weights on my legs, and it's a little bit of discomfort. But, I zone in. Like this morning is a perfect example. This is a fascinating conversation, John, because it's true. You don't that's what, like the Eagles game. I don't want the Eagles game that I remember is Tampa Bay. I was at that game.
So was I.
And that walk to the car was agonizing.
Yeah.
I think it was
There's
the
a lot
quietest
of video of it. Thanks, Dom.
It was the quietest. Thank you, Dom. Love you, buddy. That was the quietest walk I ever remember shuffling out of the vet for the last time. And I remember walking down those ramps to get out of where we were sitting.
Yeah.
And it was breaking my heart because that was the only stadium I knew for Phillies and for Eagles. So for me, I'm walking out of that stadium and honestly, I'm choked up, pissed about the Eagles, but I'm choked up saying I'm never walking these ramps again.
I was just thinking, I wonder how many fans in that moment as you're walking out realize what you just said. Like, that's the only stadium a lot of them knew for the Eagles and the Phillies, and that was the last time it was going to host anything. As opposed to, and I think the majority of fans are probably leaving just pissed off about the game.
I can tell you,
and then
Pat,
maybe while they're sitting in the parking lot, they go, oh, yeah, by the way.
You're never walking in there.
Yeah, that's the last time we're going to be in that place.
Pat, what was weird is, and Bob will probably remember this, I know Dom would, because he was there. We saw people walking out with seats. They had brought screwdrivers.
Oh, God.
And they were walking out with seats that they had stolen from the building. And they were walking. Oh, yeah. They had walked in groups of people, and they would walk in groups of people that nobody saw that they were carrying a seat out. People had stolen their seats. They had stolen the seat that they sat in. And two, the fourth quarter of that game really sucked. It was one of those things that was like a death march. You're down 2 scores. You're trying to make it closer, trying to make it even cosmetically close. And I'll never forget it. It's weird that Dom said that about his dad, though, because I can't think of my dad went through a lot in his life as a young kid in the Second World War and things like that. And I remember him running out of our house at 26 South Malin down to my Uncle Bernie, and Aunt Rita, who lived at 39 South Malin. And I remember the two of them meeting in the street. 2 grown men, 2 tough guys running down the street and literally hugging and jumping around that the Phillies had finally won the World Series. It meant so much to them. And I came in on the 2 of them in my Uncle Bern's living room with Ortlieb's beer bottles, they were crying.
Wow.
They were like so excited they were crying. And both of those guys, I never saw them cry. If you said to me, what's an experience? I never saw either one of them cry ever.
I never saw.
And that night they were crying tears of joy.
Oh,
tears of joy.
I see my dad cry all the time. I mean,
well, he saw your report cards.
Yeah, my report cards. Just my general face induces tears to him.
Pat, a lot of people think you're a very handsome man. I'm going to tell you.
Face for radio.
I'm disagreeing. The ladies in my house think you have a spectacular look.
They single?
No, one of them is, and she's 20.
Tell the one that I'm really into change.
Well, she's a big fan. She's a big fan of yours.
You want to rearrange some furniture? I'm okay with it. Not like your old guy.
Oh, man. Hey, Jackson's on the line. Jackson, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Good, buddy.
The Eagles game, that last Eagles game at the vet, I had paid $300 for a ticket, right? And then there was so much security at the front, and there was like a big mob, and they couldn't get people into the stadium fast enough, right?
Oh, wow.
And so there was like this massive push from like these people from behind us, and a whole, like, I'd say at least 50 people got in without being scanned tickets or any of the security and stuff. And I kind of like just went with it and got in. So like no one even looked at my ticket.
No, wait a minute though. Remember, they weren't scanning back then.
Well,
they were just taking your ticket and tearing it.
Yeah, they
back
tear
then.
the bottom and stuff. And I had it in a piece of cardboard because I wanted to save it, right, just in case.
Oh, man.
And like all taped up and stuff. But like no one touched my ticket, and I was like, should I like give it to somebody? You know,
Like slip it out so
like,
someone else gets in?
yeah.
Yeah, but they could then have taken your ticket and walked in and then had you bumped out of your seat.
Yeah, it was so crowded. I mean, I don't know. You know, it was so bad. I snuck in a video camcorder too.
It was a crazy day. Did you have that video?
I do have the video still, and I remember at the beginning of the game, we thought we were going to go
52 seconds in, right?
Yeah, 50 to the fastest touchdown ever, and then Andy Reid put some salt on his playbook and decided to eat it or something. I don't know what happened there at the end.
Wow. Not that you're still bitter, Jackson.
It's just, I mean, yeah, it was so bad. And then when walking down the ramps, I just remember it was just.
How old were you at that time?
Let's see, 03, 04, 20.
It was 02. Was it 02 or 03? It was 02.
It was
02. It was 02 January.
I was 32.
Okay.
No, 30.
No, it was 03.
I thought it was 02. I thought 03 was.
I think the game was.
Oh no, you're right. Game was 03. You're correct.
Yeah, so 32. But like that Super Bowl, we would have won that one because that's when the guy from the Raiders went down to Tijuana and decided to get
Barrett Robbins.
There you go. All right, buddy.
And then the other one I think we would have won was like 04 for the Flyers when they played the Tampa Bay beat us, and then they played Calgary. I think we would have beaten Calgary. Anyway.
Well, I can tell you is the 1980s the one where they got screwed because that Saturday afternoon of Game 6, where at the Island, where an offside goal was counted for the Islanders, and the game went to overtime 4-4, a goal that shouldn't have counted. Game 7 would have been back at the Spectrum, and even though the Islanders had won Game 1 of the finals at the Spectrum, I really do believe if there was a Game 7 at the Spectrum, that team would have won.
That was Leon Stickle, Pat.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And I believe Butch Goring scored the goal for the Islanders.
Leon
that was
Stickle
the offside goal?
A name you hear quite a bit.
Yes.
Was it Butch Goring or Tonelli? I might have it wrong. I know that the last goal of the game was scored by Nystrom.
Bobby Nystrom.
The game-winning goal, which was terrible. Pat, though, Saturday afternoon, Flyers needing to force a Game 7 by winning at the Islanders.
It's crazy it was Saturday afternoon.
It was a Saturday afternoon game. I think they played the game like at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, because it's all prime
2 o'clock.
time now.
Oh, but it was on CBS.
Was it on tape delay?
No, I think it was CBS or NBC.
Okay.
And they showed it live, and the whole country's watching it. And, oh, my gosh. I mean, just absolutely heartbreaking, because if there was a Game 7, that was the team that had the 35-game unbeaten streak during the season. They would have won. I believe they would have won the Stanley Cup.
And they lost to you said the Islanders?
That was the 35-game unbeaten streak season.
80?
80.
Huh, I didn't have that being the same season.
Yeah, that was
For some reason
that was
in
a
my
pack. I can double check, but I do believe that was the same season.
Can you imagine that going 35 games without
unbeaten.
a loss?
And
That's
they lost.
incredible.
And Bob, your memory will tell you that they lost at
Minnesota.
That is correct, and they lost like 6-2 or something.
Yeah,
It was
got
like
crunched.
They got crunched in that game. Pat, can you imagine that though? A 35-game unbeaten streak. They were 25-0-10 though, I believe. I think there were 10 ties. They kept that streak going.
It's impressive. I've seen it be done before.
What do you mean you've seen it?
Look, I'm not going to brag, but I've been on a couple men's league hockey teams that, we had a couple good seasons.
I mean, that's still
no, that's incredible. Like
it was the
all
80s
jokes aside,
season,
that's nuts that you were able to. But like the 80s, I feel like were the era of breaking records in hockey. Like that, the 80s, I feel like set the bar for what hockey would become. I mean, you had Gretzky coming in, you had dynasties being built, and then as you talked about that record, I mean, you had guys really setting a standard in hockey that I felt like hadn't probably been there before.
The Flyers in that season, Pat, won their opener, then lost to the Atlanta Flames 9-2 or 8-2 in the second game of the year. They got crushed. I mean, absolutely crushed. They didn't lose again until January 7th. From the streak began the third game of the season. after losing like 9-2. It was like 9-2, 8-2. They got their teeth kicked in. And then the third game of the year, the streak started, and they didn't lose again until January the 7th. It's unbelievable.
That's pretty crazy.
It was really wild.
So what you're saying is they were a good hockey team.
They were, but there was some wild. I remember once Ben Wilson scored a big goal at a game I was at. Like they kept the streak alive. I was at the one where they set the record for the longest in the NHL, and they dropped these little orange, like remembrance cards from the roof, and I got one. And I still have it somewhere, like in a put away in like a box or something, where to commemorate the event. And then they went 35 games. I mean, that's absolutely incredible.
It's a pretty good streak.
It is.
Yeah,
you don't expect people to be able to do that one. That would carry on like that. If I was to say to you, where do the Sixers sit right now in the Eastern Conference hierarchy? Today, after the trade deadline, if we assume that Embiid is coming back, that's the premise I'm asking you for. Embiid's coming back. He's going to be very good, Joel Embiid, when he comes back. Very good. He's going to play very well, and he's back. Where do they sit in the hierarchy after this trade deadline?
Boston's still ahead of them. If we're just talking East Conference, if Joel Embiid's playing the way he was playing, then
very good. You're getting very good Joel Embiid back come playoff time.
They're probably on about the same level as Milwaukee, New York, and Philadelphia are probably the three balls you can juggle as to see, all right, who comes out of those three to play the Celtics in the finals.
Where do you go, Pat, as far as is based on assuming that Embiid come playoff time is very good Embiid? Do you put them on? Where do you put them in the hierarchy of the East?
Boston 1. I'll tell you what. After these trades, I might go New York 2.
I think so too.
And then
I think so
Milwaukee
too.
3. Sixers 4.
Where's the bigger difference from Boston to number 2, or from number 2 to the Sixers?
From number 2 to the Sixers.
That's bigger. So you think Milwaukee's far better than the Sixers than Boston is Milwaukee?
Yeah. Now,
we have the Knicks too.
Well, now, yeah,
Knicks, yeah.
Now, look, you need to keep in mind that while we can say Joel Embiid's going to be healthy, I don't know if I can completely remove myself from the idea that he won't be healthy.
Well, for this premise, though, you have to say very good.
I know I have to, but it's tough for me to wrap my head around that, and I might be going into this questionnaire with preconceived notions about it. So just take what I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'd put him at 4th. I mean, we talked about New York loading up. They set the market for OG Anunoby, and then yesterday I thought they won the deadline.
And OG Anunoby really out another
he's
month?
out 4 weeks.
Another month, okay.
But I mean, they loaded up. Milwaukee's really good. Now, some fans out there will probably be rolling their eyes that I put Milwaukee out of the Sixers because Doc Rivers.
It's a Doc.
And I understand it, but that team's talented. But, Doc maybe having a negative effect on that team. So you might, if you want to interchange the Sixers and Milwaukee, I won't argue with you on it. But, I put them 4th.
I would put them, Bob, like you sort of did the echelons there. I go Boston, New York, and I would sort of put Milwaukee and the Sixers on the same sort of plane.
Yeah,
but I would slight edge Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is if you were to start the season over again, and everybody's where they are, and Embiid's healthy, that's probably more of what we're talking about, like who's where and all. The big thing is now, are they going to be able to right this ship a little bit during this time that Embiid's out? Because you have to be looking at tonight's another loss because they have nobody to play. They don't have the guys that they just got. They just got rid of 5 guys. You're already down 3 men on the roster. You have injuries galore on this team. They'll probably only have about 7 guys available tonight. 7 or 8 guys available. And you're talking about, all right, need those heavy minutes from you there, Ricky Council the 4th. That's what we're looking at. So this is going to take a week to get everybody in, healthy. And I don't even know if everybody's going to be healthy. you're probably talking about a Sixers team that's going to hit a point that you're going to say, man, they got to win some games here in order to make sure they're in the playoffs.
They're 10 games up on it, though.
I don't care.
mean, I think
that's any games with this team right now.
That'd be a big. I mean, that would be one of the. I'm just going to say
3.5 games from being a play-in team right now, or something.
Yeah, they're 10 games, I think, from being out, though. I don't see that happening.
10 games from being out of the playoffs.
From being out of the playoffs, I believe. I think it's 10 that they would have to be to.
We can talk in definitives if we look it up here.
Yeah, you could on that Google machine that they've got. I believe it's 10 that they would be to be out of it.
8.5. There's 17, so it's not. It's like 7 and 8. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I would. That's. I don't see that happening. As bad as it could be, I don't see them plummeting that far out because
they're 3 games out of the 8. They're 3 games out of being number 8.
That's amazing to me. That's amazing.
Like that's playing.
That's where you're at.
You know?
And the 10 seed, you just got to I don't believe right now, I think I am almost looking at it as the 6th seed is the greatest dream. That's the greatest dream you got. Is finishing as the 6th seed.
I mean, look at it tonight. All right, you'll have Mo Bamba. You'll have Ricky Council the 4th. No
Turk
Covington, no Embiid. You're going Tobias Harris is 3. Buddy Hield, no. Kenny Lofton, I don't think he's back up here, or they might have to call him up. I don't know. You got KJ Martin going. I guess Tyrese Maxey's going to be healthy tonight. D'Anthony Melton out. Oubre should be a good go. Campaign isn't going to be
Turk
here.
Smith.
You got Turk
like
Smith
Campaign.
That's like 7. You got like 7 or 8 guys tonight that are going to be able to go.
Well, that means Kate Scott has less show prep to do.
Is there and Bobby, you would know this more than anybody. Is there a reason why like Buddy Hield couldn't go today? He's settled in Milwaukee. And I ask this because I have seen guys play a game in Major League Baseball, a day game, get traded, show up for their new team to play a night game.
Oh, there's been guys traded during a doubleheader.
I don't understand.
For the other team.
And that's my point. And you've got Buddy Hield, who was in. Look, I know he's very, very far away by train, but he's in Indiana. That's all of what, a 2-hour flight, and he can't.
It's not
he can't
even.
play.
So there's some things that go into it, and probably more than I'm going to give you right now. Could look, sure, if this team had to have a win and all that, you rush them in. So the deal was finalized. I forget what time we got the email, but sometime early evening. Although we heard about it early, it didn't get finalized. The team didn't announce till early evening. So you're talking, yes, equipment is one thing. Uniforms, all of those things have to be set. Do they have his type of sneakers here? He brings sneakers along with him. Well, sneakers now is different because everybody wears different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, it used to be had to be
Right. Oh,
uniformly.
no, absolutely.
But like,
So
can I
probably, Pat. Physicals, I imagine, could have been done this morning. If he gets in, you do your physical, all of that stuff, and all the legalities of everything has to be done. I imagine could.
So let me add on to the question. So you said, the deal doesn't become finalized until, and I think we got that email at like 5 or 6 or
Right,
7
o'clock. Yeah.
It was well after the deadline passed. Does that mean that he can't get on a plane until after the deal is finalized?
I think it means that.
That's a good
I'm
question,
not being
Pat.
a smart ass here.
No,
If it's not
honest
finalized,
question.
why would he? Because if it doesn't get finalized, now he's making a trip for no reason.
I guess because why wouldn't it get finalized?
Yeah, I mean, what would you think?
Both teams are expecting it. He has been traded. I'd be interested to know when the last time a deal was announced, I guess, or it leaked out. Because technically, as we say, it's finalized, but the deal leaked out and it fell through after the fact. But if I'm the Sixers, like, I traded for the guy. I want him on the first flight to Philly. I want him here taking his physical. I mean,
sure.
the shoe
I
thing.
agree with you.
I mean, hey, bring one pair and we'll buy you the rest. Like,
No, that was from a while ago, and there's more to it. But now guys can wear any color shoes they want.
And I asked this question because we're not so far removed from them trading for Glenn Robinson III, and it took a fortnight for him to actually get to Philly.
Well, they're also.
I think he walked from Golden State when they made that trade.
Doesn't the Players Association also have a negotiated thing in the latest CBA about how long they have to show up?
I was talking to people about the CBA yesterday, experts who have to go back and look and all that. It's so convoluted. Like
I thought that they had
one
something
thing,
where they can.
Well, they had a new CBA that was just implemented last year. I had some questions on it, and one of the people I was talking to was like, "Oh man, wait, hold on a second." And you hear the pages flipping through. Yeah. So it's such. And I told you the story before about passing the GM on the stairway at PCOM one time, and underneath of his arm, literally, was a phone book size book that said CBA 101 on it.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, that's how big it is.
I've seen the NCAA rule book, and it's a phone book. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that a collective bargaining agreement could be the exact same thing. We have a lot coming up for you, though. Before we get out of here, Pat and Bob both have questions for you. And one of them relates to the Super Bowl, and one of them relates to a Phillies-Sixers conversation. We'll wrap up this week of work. Andrew Salchunas is ready to go coming up at the top of the hour. And then it's the best show ever today at 2 with Daryl Morey at 4:45. His press conference, you'll hear it live here
Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
They're having a soup contest down the street, down the hallway.
Oh,
a
really?
soup or bowl?
Pat, you might want to get on that.
Soup.
Get on it in what sense?
You have friends down there. Hey, is there enough for all of us?
So what? You have just. I mean,
what?
Yeah, you have friends too. Why is this
No,
on
I'm
me?
not. You have very close friends down there.
I do.
Who are
I
in
have people.
charge. Yeah.
Well,
I'm using you.
I've worked here for a minute. I've met some folks. I've made some friends. Yes. Do you want me to send a text?
I mean, there's
what
there's
what
tons
part
of
of that
soup.
did
I
you
guess.
not understand?
You know what? For the
Yes.
powers, I'm going to produce this show and send it.
If you have to leave and go down there and ask, do that. I'll get Brendan to come in there for you.
I once had somebody at a house event, and it was one of the people cooking in a crock pot, and she made her famous soup. And so it was like, okay, and we had just moved into these houses, so everybody's, it's like an open house type of thing. You have to try some of her famous soup. I tried it, and have you ever tasted something in public and you still wanted to just spit it out?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
She made her famous Big Mac soup. The soup tasted like a Big Mac. There was beef in it. There's cheese in it. There's the special sauce is in it, so it looked sort of orangey. There's chunks of bread in it. The seeded roll, like cut up. She made Big Mac soup. I tasted it. I almost
Did it have pickles in it?
I almost passed out. It had everything.
Special sauce, lettuce, cheese,
It
pickles,
had
onions,
everything that is in a Big Mac, but it was in soup form. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Hey, Fanatic Fridays are presented by Pump Man Philly.
Pump, 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 pump.
For 24/7 emergency repair or pump replacement, count on Pump Man Philly. Guys to know to fix your flow. So Bob had a question about advantages in a Super Bowl. And if you were able to have that advantage edge, where are you leaning? Tell us a little bit more about it, Rob.
Well, it's funny because, all the talk that we've had about what happened to the Eagles, leadership, coaching, all of those things, it kind of gets divided in my mind between, I should say, the physicality of the sport. And I don't mean being a tough guy, all that. I just mean, what it takes to physically play the sport and the mental side of the sport that you have to have, the smartness, the willingness, all of those things that come with playing a game. So you have two teams together, San Francisco and Kansas City. I'm looking at both the teams and saying, two really good defenses, potential for two really good offenses. San Francisco's loaded with talent. Kansas City has the best quarterback that might turn out of all time. So it's all there. Would you rather have the team that's better physically? And it's not going to be a huge margin in the Super Bowl because both teams are really good. That's why they're in the Super Bowl. But would you rather have the edge there, or would you rather have the bigger edge mentally?
Physically.
Yeah?
And I had to think about it.
Yeah.
I go mentally.
Well, that's a good question if you get
Yeah,
two
that
different
is good.
answers.
I go physically. Yeah, I want physically.
So there's not going to be as I said, too much of a difference probably physically because both teams are in the Super Bowl. You're both going to have those 350-pound fatties in the middle of the field, and you're going to have the offensive line that averages 330, and all of those things are going to be there. I go mentally also, John, because of this. I can be as physically big and intrusive as I want. If I'm not in the right place, it doesn't matter. How do I get to the right place? Because I know where to go.
Okay, I get you.
That's the only reason I went. But I love your physical answer, too.
To me, I believe games are won along the line of scrimmage. And guys who get after the quarterback, it's not very mental. And the most important position in the game that people talk about is quarterback and then pass rush.
John just called defensive linemen stupid.
Well, I can tell you this is that defensive linemen and linebackers, you don't want their Wonderlic scores or IQ test scores from the combines. That's not where you're going. You're going to offensive line, which is strange. But I want physically dominant offensive line, defensive line. I want a physical team.
Pat, why did you say mental?
I just think when you win the mental edge, it's just better for you. I've felt like that in sports. I mean, keep in mind, I'm a huge fan of MMA and the mental warfare that goes on in that sport. I mean, I've seen guys crumble under it that are very talented, but they just lose the mental edge. So I think when you've got a team that comes in, like let's say, for example, you've got the Chiefs, right? They're closing in on being a dynasty, and they've been there and they've done that, and they're very confident. And then you come in, and you're obviously very confident, too. You're the San Francisco 49ers. But in the back of your head, you're thinking, if it wasn't for a Dan Campbell mistake, would we even be here? But, hey, no, we're confident. We're confident. We got our boombox and everything. And then you get out there, and the Chiefs go right down the field and score. I think that's the mental warfare right there. Like, the doubt starts to kind of creep in a little bit. The Chiefs, I feel like if the opposite happens, if the 49ers get the ball first, and the 49ers go down the field and score, the Chiefs aren't really going to be fazed by it because they've kind of at this point seen everything at the biggest stage. So I think that's why the mental warfare is so important.
And here's my other point to that. Great job by you, Pat. I think it's easier to be physical when you're mentally there than it is to be mentally there when you're physical. Okay, I am so sure of what I'm doing. I have studied. I know exactly what I'm doing on the field. I know where to be. I know where to go. I can be physical. If I'm physical, but I'm not sure where I'm going and I haven't studied, I'm not, like, where is he going to be? My physicality in some places could be wasted because I don't know where I'm going. You know what I mean? So
that's really an interesting. It's very interesting because
it is an interesting
I look at it both ways because of the fact that I don't know how many times I've talked to football coaches, position coaches, players, whatever, and saying game's won on the line of scrimmage. Now, offensive linemen must be really – I mean, they have to know there's a lot of technique to it.
Oh,
there's a lot – I mean, they're like dancers.
It's been widely said over the years that your smartest players on a football field often are your offensive linemen.
Well, I think, Bob, every single time they were testing them for the Wonderlic and all that stuff, the offensive line always came up as one of the best positions. They were always towards the top. And then you got linebackers and defensive ends that are more like end tables. They were. I mean, they were.
You just say not as smart, man.
It's a collective group of scores.
I just think it's interesting because I do play a lot of the mental game when it comes to sports because I've told you in the past, that's the way I had to play. I had to play smarter and all that stuff. But I really think the mental aspect of it all might be more important, not only than people think, but it might even be more important than the physicality. That's why I threw out the question.
I like it. Chris, what do you say to Bob's question?
I absolutely agree that it is a mental side of things. And if it's not, I want to know why we spent the last month talking about offensive and defensive coordinators in the city. It came down to intelligence and putting people in the right place. If you tell me right now that we win those games differently because our team was more physical, then perhaps I wonder maybe we should have never gotten rid of our offensive or defensive coordinators. So I have to think that it comes down to a level of smarts. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs have an edge because they're coming back again and again. And I'm just laughing because I hope to God that Hargraves walks off the field looking up at there and he lost another Super Bowl. Sorry, just I had to put that out.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what, though? You know he backed off his comments, right?
I don't care if he backed them off. He made them. I mean,
yeah, he made them. You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? I mean,
I got you.
Something stupid, you got to own it. You can't come back from it. I mean, it's like, oh, I hate this.
He said, I didn't mean that things weren't good in Philadelphia and we didn't practice hard and everything. But I would love. I so want to see San Francisco lose. I just got to see it. I have to see it.
I don't think they do. I do. Like
I think they're winning. I think they're
winning.
winning.
You do?
No, I do. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's it. So, it is interesting here because Jim's asking, you guys have gone 3.5 hours and you have not given your score. 31-27 49ers.
That's a good score. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, I'll go 33-28 49ers.
Okay.
I will go 31-24 Chiefs.
So we're all thinking the same game. We're all thinking the over, by the way, which does concern me because I think the over-under is very, very low.
Yeah, you have two good defenses. I mean,
Yes.
really good defenses.
I am thinking it's going to be an entertaining back and forth affair. That's one of the reasons why in our prop bets earlier I said I did not see any team scoring 3 consecutive times. But I do believe there's going to be mistakes made. And I think Brock Purdy's going to make them, and I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to make them.
It's such an interesting game, and I hope it's a good game. I think it's going to be. But you do have 2 really good defenses, and what Steve Spagnuolo did in the AFC Championship game, where they said he just completely reschemed everything and confused the hell out of Baltimore, that's phenomenal. I think man to man, if you match up, I would give the advantage probably defensively to San Francisco, who's just a physical defensive team. Then you go to the offensive side of the ball, where you have sprinkles of really talented players all over the place for San Francisco, but with Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback. And then you go to the other side, you might have the greatest quarterback with not that much sprinkling in wide receivers. Of course, a great tight end. So it's a fascinating matchup to me. And I don't care who wins or loses until I bet, but I am looking forward to what I think is going to be a good game.
Okay, so I think that's such an interesting question. Mental and physical, though.
Yeah, and where I won the argument in my head, and I was only going against myself, so there was going to be one winner and one.
Did you argue with
big-time
yourself
loser.
long? Were you debating a lot?
I do that a lot. I love to think things out and come up with how I really feel. And that's what, when I went back to Pat, that's what made me go with the mental. I don't think super aggressive necessarily lends to being smart, but I think smart can help lend to being super aggressive. Simply because you know where to be, you know when to be there, you can get there faster, harder, and better than if you don't know where to be. If I guess 3 times out of 10 I get to the right place and I can be as physical as I want, great. If I know 10 times out of 10 where to be, I can be as physical as I want every time.
All right, I'm asking you both. Eagles won 1 Super Bowl. We all remember Super Bowl 52. I remember that one. I think the Eagles were the more physical team. I don't think I can say they were the better mental team. Both teams mentally had a bad day. I thought both teams had a mental bad day. Defensively, that was as bad a Super Bowl as you'll ever see. There was poor defensive play on both sides. Highly entertaining, but poor play.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys wide open that day.
Gosh.
All over the place, yeah.
For both teams.
There was one big hit early by the Eagles, right?
And
was that game?
Yeah.
No,
that was the Malcolm Jenkins hit on Brandon Cooks.
Right, exactly. Knocked him out.
But after that, physicality?
Well, the Brandon Graham play is the biggest play in franchise history in my mind.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's more. That and Philly is huge. But the play that won the Super Bowl for me was Brandon Graham's strip sack. That to me is the play that secured the Super Bowl victory.
And I saw that replay over and over the other day. I don't know what I was watching, but they showed it. And the way he places his hand, it was like a basketball player when somebody goes up for a shot and you want to strip him. Like he knew exactly where he was going with that hand. It wasn't like by coincidence.
Yeah.
He reached out and got that. I think it's funny and fun and great that 2 of the most entertaining Super Bowls in the last 10 years, maybe the 2 most, the ones the Eagles were involved in.
Had the Eagles in.
Yeah.
Pat, you had a question about comparing the Sixers trade deadline and the Phillies, and I'm sorry to get to it so late.
No, it's fine.
But I wanted to get to it.
I'm wondering from you guys, now we at this point we know what the Sixers added, Buddy Hield, Cameron Payne. Do you think when you look at the Sixers and what they've added post-deadline and the Phillies and what they could add, and rumors are swirling that the Phillies could get involved with some of these big free agents that are still left out there that don't have a team, who's going to have the more impact guy? The Sixers post-deadline with these 2 guys, or the Phillies leading up to opening day? Who do you think gets the more of the impact guy?
I think I'm leaning Sixers.
I don't even hesitate when I say Phillies.
You don't even hesitate. So you think something? You think a shoe is going to drop?
I think Montgomery or Snell is coming here.
Oh my gosh!
Swear to God, I do.
Snell,
Montgomery or Snell is going to be here. I'm feeling it, Pat. I driving in here today, it overcame me. They are going to get one of those 2 guys.
I'm leaning towards, dude. I'm kind of with you.
Same
I'm
way?
leaning towards
Really?
it. Yeah. Now, a big part of this is my expectations for the Sixers are to do nothing in the playoffs. So when you talk about impact, Buddy Hield could impact, but what is he really impacting? Is he impacting them getting to out of the play-in tournament, which is I think where they're going to be? He's a UFA. Same thing with Cameron Payne, UFA. They traded for 2 UFAs. They're going to get the veteran buyout market too, but those guys, same thing, UFA. So if you add 2 guys from the veteran buyout market, you're looking at 4 UFAs. Impact? I don't know how much they're really impacting. Now, time will tell. Whereas the Phillies, if they go out there and they get a Jordan Montgomery, if they get a Blake Snell on a 1-year deal with an option, right? Hey, just come in and you're gonna have the luxury of getting the playoffs. That's the pitch that they would make. We've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row. We're going to be back. You're going to be pitching on the big stage. You're going to be joining a really good clubhouse. The other thing to think about, too, is Bryce Harper's impact with this. We always talk about GM Bryce Harper. Yep. Well, GM Bryce Harper is GM Bryce Harper because his agent is Scott Boras, who happens to represent Jordan Montgomery, and I believe he might. I got to double check.
Does he have Snell, too?
He might have Snell, and I will double check with that. But that's a big thing with this. Bryce Harper going to, his agent saying, "Hey, let me get Jordan Montgomery's let me get his number if he doesn't already have it. Let me start pitching him on. Look, man, I know you wanted this big deal, but come here and we'll reset the market."
Scott Boras, it is.
Yeah. So you.
How old is Montgomery, Pat?
Bellinger might be the same way because it seems like Scott Boras is everybody. Montgomery's like 29, I want to say.
Okay. Would you ever think that if they went and got Montgomery or Snell, that it means goodbye to Zach Wheeler when his contract's done?
I don't. I don't because I feel like if they go out and get Montgomery or Snell, it's a 1-year deal. Snell.
So you think it would just be a rental?
Yeah, I mean, okay. I'd rather personally have Montgomery over Snell because Snell is more. First of all, we talked about it with the lack of going more than 5 innings.
Okay.
I'm sure Rob Thompson would be okay with that. I would not. Snell has been kind of hit or miss in a lot of ways. Like he reminds me a little too much of Aaron Nola in the sense where I always refer to Aaron Nola as the good year, bad year pitcher. Last year was bad year. We should expect a good year this year. Blake Snell is very similar. Now, when he's good, he's more dominant than Aaron Nola. But looking at it like 2 years ago, 4.20 ERA, 3.38, that's great. And then last year, 2.25, which is incredible. But the year after his Cy Young Award in Tampa Bay, he had a 4.29 ERA. So I don't know. I mean, it was the same amount of pitches, or same amount of innings too.
That's amazing.
It was 180 innings in Tampa Bay when he won the Cy Young Award that year. And by the way, that year he was 24. He went from 4.04, 25. He went from 4.04 to 1.89, won the Cy Young, and the next year at 26, he had an ERA of 4.29. So the year he won the Cy Young, he had 180 innings pitched, and last year had 180 innings pitched. So I'm not looking at that as being the be-all, end-all, but do I want 2 pitchers that are so herky-jerky like that? Not necessarily. I'd personally take Jordan Montgomery over Blake Snell, but as our buddy Jamie would always say, there's no bad 1-year deals. And I feel like if they sign one of these guys, it's going to be a 1-year deal with a club option or 2, maybe a player option. But I'm leaning towards the impact guy is going to be coming from the Phillies, not necessarily the Sixers. And we already know that they've made a move.
Where do you?
So if you, real quick, Blake Snell, 180 innings last year. I don't think we had a problem with Aaron Nola last year in innings pitched, right?
No.
Innings,
right?
no.
No.
193.2. You're talking about 13.2 more innings over 32 starts. If we do all that out, we're talking about an out
one hitter,
or 2
one
here.
hitter or 2 hitters, like 3 hitters every couple games.
Like the Blake Snell 5-inning stuff, that doesn't bother me a little bit.
And who knows with the better, who knows with the offense as potent as the Phillies have, if they play to their potential, they don't get him out to leads where he can be a little more aggressive, pound the strike zone, put the ball in play instead of trying to, nibble around, and he can pitch more innings. I mean, if he pitches comfortable innings are faster innings. And Greg Maddux used to say that you get a
He
2.
was the master of it.
You get a 2. You give him 2 runs early, give him 3 runs, and he said, comfortable innings are faster innings.
I'm a little worried too with Snell because he pitched in such a pitcher's park in Petco.
Oh, he
coming
did.
to
Very good
coming
point,
to CBP. It's the exact opposite. Jordan Montgomery has been successful.
You're selling me on Montgomery, Pat.
He's been successful in New York, which is a bandbox. He's been successful in St. Louis, and last year was obviously successful in Texas. So I think, and then we didn't even talk about Bellinger, but Bellinger's another option. I mean, I personally don't think they really need Bellinger, but you've got 3 names out there, 3 really good players that they could go get, and I feel like every day that goes by, there's a chance that one of those guys could end up in a Phillies uniform.
All right, if I were to put odds on, or give me percentage of them either getting Snell or Montgomery to you.
Montgomery, I think, is a better chance. I would put that as 30%. Blake Snell, I'd put at 17%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cody Bellinger, I'd put at like 4%.
Altogether, landing one of the 3. What's percentage?
I would put it at like 55%. 56. We'll do 56% because I was a big Joe Blanton guy.
Oh,
Wow.
Very good, yeah.
That is just unbelievable. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Or Byron Evans.
Sure.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah, you got me there, Bobby. I
Pat,
can't.
the one thing is, too, is I am disgusted a little bit that when Bob asks you a percentage, you don't even realize you do this. When Bob asks you a percentage, you go like 30%. I ask you percentage, like 23.6%.
What do you mean? I said 4% for Bellinger. Don't put that on me as if I'm playing favorites over here. I put 56% for the whole thing.
I'm telling you
Trust
this.
me when I tell you he does not like me better.
I'm telling you this.
I don't like him at all.
I'm telling you this. When it comes down to it, if they add Montgomery, the division is the 162 division race is in play. If they add him, the 162 race is in play. And I believe without an addition to this roster right now, the 162 division race is not in play. But I do believe they'll beat the Braves when it counts because the Braves choke.
I thought Pat made a great point earlier this morning when he says, you have to realize for one whole half of a season last year, you didn't have Bryce Harper or the real Trey Turner. Those are 2 of the biggest names in baseball, and for half of a year, they either weren't there or they really weren't there.
Do you realize, I said it to you earlier, I'm not sure you're paying attention to me off the air. Bryce Harper's missed 99 games the last 2 years.
It's amazing.
99 games without Bryce Harper, and they're 2 of the most successful seasons in Phillies history.
Yeah, I heard you loud and clear because I thought you were going to go another way, saying, like, how important is he?
Oh, no.
I'm
saying is, what I'm saying is, it's amazing how big a part he was of both of those seasons.
Yeah.
And he's missed 99 games in 2 years. Just imagine a healthy Bryce Harper all year long. And by the way, I think first base makes you better chance for him to be healthy.
Absolutely.
Bring it on. Hopefully everybody enjoys Super Bowl 58. We will be joining you on Monday morning afterwards. Maybe the Phillies make a move this weekend. Pitchers and catchers report next week. So who knows? Maybe we're going to have one of those great moves that the boys think are happening. Absolutely wish you the best this weekend and hope everybody has a great week. Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, Pump and Philly, and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Andrew and Ray are going to take you through the middays, and then you're going to have your opportunity to listen to the best show ever, where they'll have Daryl Morey's press conference at 4:45. If you've been waiting for answers, you're going to get them today. Whether you like the answers, who knows? Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. See you, everybody.